The Dan O'Donnell Show Tuesday edition underway right now. And we are so honored to have a very special guest joining us for this entire hour, Wisconsin Congressman Tom Tiffany. There has been a lot of speculation as to his political future. What is he going to do next year? We will get some answers. It is a big exclusive. You are only going to hear it right here on the Dan O'Donnell Show. Congressman Tiffany is joining us in studio. We will get to him in just a second. First, if you would like to join the program, 414-799-1130 is our advitknows.com talk and text line. Reach us toll free, 1-800-838-9476. Email me, dod@iheartmedia.com, at Dan O'Donnell Show on X, on Facebook. We are on Instagram. We are streaming on YouTube. The DanoCam is up. We have got a brand new setup, brand new graphics package. Quite frankly, the show has never looked better. And we want you to join the conversation on our YouTube stream. Just search for Dan O'Donnell or Dan O'Donnell Show. And we do humbly ask that you subscribe to the Dan O'Donnell Show podcast on iHeartRadio. Since the start of the 2026 gubernatorial election cycle here in Wisconsin, there has been one burning question. Is Congressman Tom Tiffany going to jump in? Is he going to run for governor? We thought, what better way to find out than by asking him directly. Joining us now live in the studio is Wisconsin Congressman Tom Tiffany. Sir, it is always a pleasure to have you here. We really do appreciate you taking the time and being so generous with your time joining us for this hour.
Dan, great to join you today. And I just didn't realize these WISN studios were so plush.
Yeah, you're too kind, sir. You're too kind.
Yeah. We made the trip down from Wausau here to join you. We're really excited to join you in the studio here this afternoon and looking forward to the next hour.
And I think a lot of people are looking forward to the answer to the biggest question in the Republican primary process thus far. Sir, are you running for governor next year?
Yeah, today I'm here to announce on your show that I'm going to run for governor of the state of Wisconsin in the 2026 election. It is a great challenge that is going to be before us, but it is also a great opportunity, and we are going to accept that challenge, and we're in as of right now, Dan.
Well, congratulations, sir. I think this was something a lot of people were waiting for, but why now? Why get into this race now? You're going to have to give up a seat in the Congress. You're going to have to put everything you have into this. Why do you believe that you are the man to lead Wisconsin?
Yeah, there were two questions that I asked from the very get-go when I really started contemplating this. And one is, where can I do the most good for the people of the state of Wisconsin? And the second question is, who is the best person that gives us the best chance to win? At the end of the day, obviously, I've answered that. I do believe that this is the best place for me to be. Yes, I could have stayed in the 7th Congressional District, representing northern and western Wisconsin out in Washington, D.C., and I probably could have stayed there a long time. And many people have said that. Why would you leave that when you got a certainty? That is not why I got into politics, Dan. Way back in 2010, when I was first elected to the state legislature, you remember the Doyle years, $3 billion deficit, all the stuff that was going on. Unemployment was nearly 10% at that point. And I got in because I wanted to change Wisconsin. I love this state, and I wanted to change the trajectory we were going on. And working with Governor Walker and a whole lot of other like-minded people, we did really good things for 8 years. And we see the same thing now in 2025 that we had back in 2010. And in terms of, I do believe that I'm the best candidate with the experience that I have, the background that I have. You know, I've served at all 3 levels of government, local, state, and federal. I understand the interconnection. But I would say more importantly, My wife and I owned and operated a business for 20 years. We saw the impact of taxes, regulations, and all those things that government do to businesses in those 20 years that that we owned our business, Wilderness Cruises, up in the Northwoods of Wisconsin. And I just think with all of that and the experience in Congress and knowing what needs to get done here in Wisconsin, and we have a very clear mission, I believe, in front of us that we need to get Wisconsin back on track.
Wisconsin Congressman Tom Tiffany announcing exclusively here on the Dan O'Donnell Show that he is running for governor in 2026, becoming the third Republican candidate to enter this field. It is not a crowded field, sir, but it is one that features a young, up-and-coming county executive, a very successful businessman, and now you. A lot of people believe you are the prohibitive favorite in this race, and a lot of people were just waiting for you to get in this race. But with three candidates now in, what differentiates you? What sets you apart?
I'm ready to go to work on day one. I have the experience both in the private sector and the public sector to be able to go to work on day one. I would point out, I served on the Joint Finance Committee when I was in the state legislature, served 3 terms. I've always said to people that when they get in the legislature, there's 2 steep learning curves. One, when you come in your first year. The second, when you get on the Finance Committee, because when you know where the money is being spent, you know what the priorities are for the state of Wisconsin. I helped write 3 budgets. We will go in and we will go to work immediately and start getting work done to make Wisconsin, we're going to make Wisconsin one of the shining stars here in America.
What is the biggest issue facing this state?
It's got there's a number of them. The economy, the general business climate is not good. We're in the bottom 10 states now. You know,
bottom 10 states for what?
We were in the bottom 10 states for creating jobs and for entrepreneurial activity. If you want to start a business, we're in the bottom 10 here in America. Second of all is education. We have fallen behind Mississippi. Only 31% of 4th graders in the state of Wisconsin can read at grade level. That is an embarrassment for a state that has always taken great pride in having a good education system. We're the second highest for energy costs now. We used to be the second lowest here in the Midwest. So there's so many things that we need to do, that we need to fix. And I would just point out, what's the first thing that Governor Evers did when he came into office? He removed the Wisconsin is open for business signs. And he made it very clear that Wisconsin is not open for business. And that's reflected in that bottom 10 ranking now. And it is so important to change that, because that's where good jobs come from. That's where the working class people of Wisconsin, which we have always been a blue collar state, that's how we keep those jobs and grow them here in Wisconsin.
How would Wisconsin be back open for business under a Tiffany administration?
Number one, we would reform the Department of Natural Resources. Of all the agencies of state government, there is one more than any other that decides whether you're going to have business growth in the state, and that is the Department of Natural Resources. Most states have their departments split, where they have the fish and wildlife portion of it, and then they have the environmental permitting. We're one that does not do that. I think it is time to do that, because the permitting process is endless in Wisconsin. And we need to have a Department of Natural Resources. None of us want to reduce environmental standards. Not calling for that at all. And businesses will tell you they are not calling for a reduction in environmental standards. Just get us an answer in a prompt basis, because that's what happens when you tell a company that, hey, it's going to take you 2 or 3 years to be able to get a permit. They don't even consider Wisconsin then, and they look elsewhere. We need to do a much better job, and it starts with the Department of Natural Resources with the permitting process.
Do you believe that Wisconsin has been hit especially hard by President Trump's tariff regime? Because Wisconsin Democrats have been quick to point out that the economy might not be as growth oriented as it otherwise would be because of those tariffs. In short, do you believe that President Trump might be stifling this state's growth with his tariffs, or do you support them?
Generally, I support them. I mean, tariffs have certainly had an impact. There's no doubt about it. But when you hear the governor talk about how, gosh, why aren't we treating our friends in Canada better? Canada has higher tariffs, for example, on dairy products than we do here in the United States. They're actually harming us being able to ship our products to Canada. But I think at the end of the day, if the tariff regime is handled properly, we are going to bring manufacturing back to the United States of America. And it is critical that we do that because China produces so many things now that we are so dependent on, whether it's pharmaceuticals, there's even some things in the defense industry, components that we get primarily from China. We cannot be dependent like that on China and other countries. We have to be able to produce some of this stuff in America. I think it's just a matter of having this being done in a steady, methodical process to work out the kinks and bring some of that manufacturing back to Wisconsin.
Can Wisconsin ever be the manufacturing hub that it once was, Milwaukee in particular?
We're still the number one state per capita in the United States. Us and Indiana are right there. And yes, we can continue to make things. But the manufacturing floor looks much different than it did 30 or 40 years ago. But I do believe that we can still build things in Wisconsin. I think we have to build things in America if we are going to continue to be an American powerhouse. I'm just making another point. And I say this to audiences all the time, Dan. We are deciding right now whether the 21st century is going to be a Chinese century or an American century. Clearly, the 20th century was an American century. When we ended in the year 2000, America stood astride the world as the preeminent sole superpower. China is now challenging us in that regard. And are we going to meet that challenge? And you cannot meet the challenge if you do not make things, if you do not produce things. That is why it's so important that we be energy independent and be able to make things, because then we can meet that challenge and that will decide who wins the 21st century.
Wisconsin Congressman and now gubernatorial candidate Tom Tiffany joining me live in studio here on the Dan O'Donnell Show, announcing that he is in. Now, sir, I asked you a couple of weeks ago and kept asking you, and some might say badgered you to make an announcement live on the show. And of course, I do appreciate that you finally did. What changed in the past couple of weeks? Because you had said that if you can go in and really commit to it and do it, and I don't want to put words into your mouth, but there was quite possibly one of the most significant political events to happen in this country in decades with the assassination of Charlie Kirk. With you announcing so shortly afterwards, did that sort of play a role in your decision? Were you, like a lot of conservatives and Republicans, sort of motivated by that, rededicated to Charlie's work of advancing conservative ideals?
Charlie Kirk has done great work representing the conservative movement, and I was interviewed by him a few times over the years, including just a year ago at the Republican National Convention, and he really did great work in advancing the conservative cause. But at the end of the day, this decision was made by me, my family, and what is best for the people of the state of Wisconsin. I'd go back to what I said earlier. Where can I do the most good for the people of the state of Wisconsin? I believe it is running in this race because I give us the best chance to be able to win in 2026. And so I use a steady, methodical process over the last couple of years. I had some people that were urging me to run a few years ago. I told them I would take a look at it. I've traveled the country and as well as the state and really evaluated, is this the right thing to do? And at the end of the day, I think it is because I could stay in Minocqua and continue to be the congressman from the 7th for as long as I want to, but that's not why I'm in this. I'm in to uphold the conservative principles. So in that way, a lot of us are like Charlie Kirk. I don't claim to be as preeminent as he was, as prominent as he was. But I think a lot of us are in for the same reason. We want to save America. We've seen America slip over the last number of years. And now we're seeing that same slippage with Wisconsin. I mean, take a look at, Governor Evers is going to leave the next governor with a budget deficit, just like Jim Doyle did back in 2010.
And a massive one.
And a big deficit. We've talked about where Tony Evers was the education governor. And in 16 years as the head of the Department of Public Instruction, and now the governor, the collapse of our educational system in Wisconsin should be abhorrent to everyone. And so it really is time for new leadership. And I believe I have the vision to be able to lead the state of Wisconsin and make us one of the great states of America once again.
In the wake of the Kirk assassination, we also had just about an hour and a half, 2 hours ago, one of the two would-be President Trump assassins, Ryan Ruth, was convicted on all counts, actually attempted to stab himself in the neck with a ballpoint pen as the verdict was read in the courtroom. Very, very dramatic scene there, apparently. And in the wake of the worst political assassination in America in decades, you are now running for the governorship of what many consider to be the quintessential swing state, the most important state possibly in presidential politics. Are you at all concerned, given the attempts and the successful assassination of one of the most prominent conservatives in America, are you at all concerned for safety or anything like that? And did that weigh in on your family's decision in the wake of Charlie's assassination?
So first of all, Mr. Ruth truly proved he was crazy in the courtroom after that decision today, didn't he?
Yeah.
And you really have some unbalanced people that are out there. To say that I haven't thought about it would be lying. We certainly think about safety and security, especially in light of the Kirk assassination. You'd be a fool not to be considering that. But, I'm a student of history, and I take a look back at what they did at the founding of this country. And many of them were financially ruined as a result of the stand they took to free this country from Great Britain. And to me, that has always been the history of America. People will stand up and defend freedom and liberty in this country. And if not me, who? And so I've taken that seriously since I gotten out of the business sector a number of years ago, that people do have to lead. And I believe that's part of my mission. And I believe it's something that I can add and help protect this country with freedom and liberty into the future.
Speaking of freedom and liberty, one of the big things that has been a focus of both political parties and pretty much everybody who follows politics in the wake of the Kirk assassination has been the issue of free speech. Obviously, Charlie was assassinated because he was speaking on a college campus and somebody drove 40 miles, considered Kirk to be so hateful that he was no longer worthy of living, and in order to shut him up, shot him in the neck. Democrats tried to claim that Jimmy Kimmel, the late-night comedian who will make his return to the airwaves after what amounts to about a 4-show suspension tonight, was actually a free speech martyr because he was canceled or lost his show. He didn't, because the FCC commissioner was threatening TV stations. Where do you come down on the issue of free speech? And what is the greatest threat to Americans of all political persuasions being able to speak their minds freely in this country?
I think that answer is easy at this point. All you have to do is look at the Kirk assassination, and that is the greatest threat to free speech at this point. I mean, look at President Trump with the decision today in regards to this Ryan Ruth fella who was laying in the bushes ready to attempt an assassination on the president. The president had his ear almost taken off at the hand of an assassin's bullet last year. I mean, that is the greatest impediment to free speech at this point, is that people have to fear going out into the public sphere and sharing their views. And Charlie Kirk was ready, willing, and able to debate anyone. And that's what it should look like, especially on college campuses. And I would say this, college campuses really need to up their game now. Mm-hmm. They need to up their game and prove that they do believe in free speech and that they want to be a forum that will allow free speech, because many of them have run for the hills when the Antifa types have shown up at their universities. They need to come down firmly, and I would sure hope the universities in Wisconsin would do this, come down firmly and say, we will not allow the diminution of free speech here in the state of Wisconsin and America.
One of your opponents in the Republican primary made headlines last week when he said that he would not, as governor, fire employees who were posting on social media awful things about Kirk's assassination, celebrating it, saying we need more conservatives to suffer Charlie's fate. If elected governor, would you punish or fire state employees who post ghoulish things about a political assassination?
I think this is a classic, and it's epitomized by the word liberty. You have the freedom of speech. You have the First Amendment. You can say what you want to. But you know what? There's also a responsibility that goes with that. And if you ignore that responsibility, you could lose your job, especially if you are saying about somebody like Charlie Kirk that he had it coming, or I wish I would have done that. When you do something like that, you've stepped over the boundary. And so if a state employee would do something like that, yes, they should be relieved of their position. Now, we need to make sure and protect people's First Amendment rights. I believe in that strongly, but it is not an absolute. There are responsibilities that come with that right to free speech, just like all the other rights we have. The Second Amendment, you have the Second Amendment right, but you are also responsible for that firearm that you have in your hands. And the same goes with speech.
He is Wisconsin Congressman Tom Tiffany, announcing live on the Dan O'Donnell Show he is running for governor. We're going to take a quick break and then get into some of the biggest issues that are facing Wisconsin and some of the biggest, toughest questions that any Republican candidate is going to need to answer. That's coming up in just 3 minutes. Stay tuned. The Dan O'Donnell Show will be right back.
Keep in touch with Dan on Twitter at Dan O'Donnell Show. More of the show next. The biggest headliners in live music shared the stage
at our 2025 iHeartRadio Music Festival, presented by Capital One.
Jelly Roll!
Hi, this is Ed Sheeran.
L-L-Cool J!
Hi there, this is Brian Adams.
Make some noise for Tate McRae.
Hey, I'm Sammy Hagar.
Mariah Carey!
Hey, this is Doodles from The Offspring.
We have Maroon 5, good evening.
Hey, this is John Fogerty.
Sam McGraw!
It's your girl, Glorilla.
The iHeartRadio Music Festival.
Get ready to relive the once-in-a-lifetime moments, starting October 2nd, only on Hulu.
You're great at protecting your data, but lots of places could still expose you to identity theft.
If that happens, LifeLock gives you the U.S.-based restoration agent who will stick by your side from start to finish. Phone calls, filing documentation, preparing insurance claims. Your agent handles it all. In fact, they're so confident restoration is guaranteed or your money back. It's nice to have an expert like that on your side. Save up to 40% off your first year with promo code Beck at LifeLock.com. That's LifeLock.com. Terms apply.
Allie Dwyer and her 3 sons lost their hero, Stephen. Serving our country in the United States Army was Stephen's calling, and flying helicopters was his passion. Stephen was killed in a Black Hawk helicopter crash over the Mediterranean Sea. Thanks to friends like you, Tunnel to Towers provided his family with a mortgage-free home, giving them security and hope in their darkest hours. Help more families like the Dwyers. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org. That's T2T.org.
If you're in the market for new shades or blinds, don't leave it to guesswork online at Bayview Shade and Blind. You can see, touch, and compare products at any of their 3 local galleries in Waukesha, Oconomowoc, or Menominee Falls. Stop in today at Bayview Shade and Blind or visit BayviewShade.com.
People should be judged for the content of their character, not the straightness of their teeth.
I'm Mila. The gracious, caring staff at Ross Dental make straight teeth convenient.
Bo, Mila's big brother here. High school social pressure can make students want to be invisible. Ross Dental Straight teeth are confidence building.
With Ross Dental straight teeth, you and your children will smile like you just don't care because you don't.
Dr. Ross did imaging and ordered virtually invisible plastic trays that fit over our teeth, shifting them ever so slightly.
Every 5 days or so, we start new trays that shift teeth a little more.
Unlike conventional braces, we can take the trays off to eat and brush our teeth, and they cost less.
A bonus for me is clicking in my jaw stopped.
Dr. Ross is a great dentist, and Dad says Ross Dental is the best deal.
Family dentistry, cosmetic whitening, Ross Dental straight smiles, and full sedation dentistry for anxious patients needing substantial restoration. Our mission, your comfort, health, and confidence. Smile like you just don't care, because you don't. RossDentalWI.com.
Make News Talk 1130 WISN your number 1 preset on our free iHeartRadio app. Powered by Gruber Law.
One call, that's all.
Injured?
Remember, one call, that's all.
Conservative thought, not just talk. It is the Dan O'Donnell Show, and a special edition of it as we have live in studio for this whole hour Wisconsin Congressman Tom Tiffany, who announced exclusively here on the show that he is in fact running for governor of Wisconsin. Sir, congratulations. We do really appreciate you being so generous with your time. I think one of the things that I see my role as a media figure in this state is to kind of be a conduit, a liaison between the public and public officials such as yourself. Would you be open to answering some texts or phone calls from listeners a little bit later on this hour, sir?
Oh, absolutely. By the way, it's amazing how fast this goes.
Well, it's because, you know, I'm a pro at this. We move the conversation along. So there you have it. If you have a question for Congressman Tiffany about his newly announced run for governor, trust me, folks, you are not going to get this on the Channel 4 evening news. You only get this sort of thing with live talk radio. You only get this on the Dan O'Donnell Show. 414-799-1130. That is our adventknows.com talk and text line 1-800-838-9476. We'll try to get to a couple of phone calls if time allows. Certainly we'll get to a number of texts, but I want to get as many questions for Congressman Tiffany as possible. And the first one that I think is going to be a big battle that the next governor, if it is a Republican, is going to have to face. We broke on this story on this show, a big story yesterday. The city of Milwaukee, after getting $200 million in financing from the state in increased shared revenue, as well as new sales tax revenue from Act 12, which was passed in 2023, we reported, based on findings from State Senator Van Wangard, that the city of Milwaukee spent roughly 99% of that new revenue, $200 million, give or take, last year on salary and wages. None of that went to rank and file Milwaukee police officers, even though a condition of Act 12 passing, Republicans in the legislature saying, okay, Milwaukee, you can have more money, you can create a new city sales tax. Some of that money needs to go to police officers. Yesterday, the Milwaukee Police Association needed to go to arbitration because they haven't had a raise in years. They've been working without a contract since December of 2022. In addition, another condition of that Act 12 money being released was that Milwaukee needed to allow school resource officers back into Milwaukee public schools. A judge had to intervene because they refused. Sir, as governor, knowing this, how would you deal with the state's largest city that appears to just simply thumb its nose at state government repeatedly?
So some of this money also, could have it been used for infrastructure, Dan? Do you know the answer to that?
Well, I believe it could have been used for anything. They were pleading poverty for years because they had unfunded pension liabilities. And part of the deal was a certain percentage, just a small percentage, needed to be used for law enforcement. What we found out yesterday is that every department in city government got on average a 35% budget increase, except the police department, which got an 11% budget increase. And all of that money went to salary boosts for the police chief and top command staff, zero for rank and file officers.
So first of all, good work on the part of Senator Wongard to identify this. And isn't this predictable with the amount of money? I did not follow that bill closely when it was enacted a few years ago, but certainly heard about it. And there were some people that question, do you really want to give them that much more money, give them the authority to generate that additional revenue with the history that's there? It's very clear. When dealing with the city of Milwaukee, and this is a great city, but they have some leaders that are not accountable for the taxpayer dollars that are going into the coffers and focusing on the basics. And I think that's one of the things we're seeing a real failure by the Democrat Party in Wisconsin and locally here in Milwaukee, because they run the city, right? Is that they're not taking care of the basics. And what are those basics? You educate children, you make sure the infrastructure is kept up, and you make sure that law enforcement and public safety are preeminent. Do those things first, and you will have a well-run city. Milwaukee needs to reevaluate this. Now, if Milwaukee's not going to do that, then it's time for the legislature and the governor to take action. And I can assure you that I will take action in that regard. First of all, I'm not going to hand any community, including the city of Milwaukee, a blank check like that.
One of the biggest issues that Democrats have been pushing has not related to budgeting, has not related to finance. It's related to abortion. In fact, even before you got into this race, sir, you have been getting just hammered from the left on your position on abortion. You believe that all abortions after 6 weeks should be banned, with no exceptions for rape and incest. Is that your position? And do you believe that with a state electorate that is far more pro-choice than you are, that's going to be a significant electoral liability?
Yeah, so that is not my position. And, when I talk to friends, relatives, and constituents, this is really a personal issue. And I would just point back to 10 years ago when I was in the state legislature. We debated this, and we passed a 20-week bill. I voted for that bill. It was signed into law, and it is now the law in the state of Wisconsin. And I do support that law, and I will uphold it as governor of the state of Wisconsin.
So just to be clear, you're saying that the law governing abortion right now is what you would support, what you would enforce as governor of this state?
Yeah, that's right. And so I think back to the debate that we had 10 years ago, and you had people on both sides. You had some that were like, we want unlimited abortions. We had others that said there should be no abortions allowed in the state of Wisconsin. And ultimately, the people of the state said, we really want to see something in the middle. That's what I voted for, was the compromise at 5 months. And I do stand by that vote.
He is Wisconsin Congressman and now gubernatorial candidate Tom Tiffany. We're going to take a 5-minute break. We're going to line up some phone calls, some texts, and he is going to answer your questions. Stay tuned.
What's better than cheering for the Packers with an ice-cold beer in your hand? Cheering for the Packers with an ice-cold beer in your hand that you got for 10% off. And when you get Packers checking from Associated Bank, you get even more. Like 10% off food and 10% off drinks on game day. Like that ice-cold beer in your hand. Plus 15% off Pro Shop gear. Only with Packers checking. Associated Bank. Bank of the Packers. Learn more at associatedbank.com/Packers. Member FDIC.
You got to get to Built Right today. Dan O'Donnell here for my amazing friends at Built Right Furniture. They have their own way of doing things. They're open Monday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. And on Sunday, they're closed to be with family. Built Right buys lunch for their entire team every Saturday, and they make it possible for their entire team to be off at the same time each year for a spring, summer, and winter break. Those were among the reasons that the 97-year-old locally and family-owned store was selected as the Home Furnishings Retailer of the Year. HFA's CEO said of the Built Right family, they do things for their team and they do things to respond to their customers. They know what works best and they've stuck with it. Randy Kay, 4th generation, said it's our hard work, passion, and dedication. So get to Built Right today and save during their 97th anniversary celebration and $1 million clearance sell-off. Tell them Dan sent you to Built Right, 54th and Layton in Greenfield.
Abbey Home is celebrating 15 years in business. So we're going back to the first special we ever offered, a free triple pane upgrade on all windows. Triple pane is warmer than double pane and will help reduce condensation, so you're not wiping your brand new windows down from moisture. And they qualify for a tax credit too. Go to abbyhome.com or give us a call, 414-436-ABBY. If somebody asks you if you know a guy in the business, you can say no, but I know a girl.
Jay Weber here, someone who knows firsthand how debilitating spine and back problems can be, and who knows where to turn to get the highest level of spine care. The team of board-certified physicians and surgeons at Orthopedic Associates of Wisconsin. You can find them at orthowisconsin.com, orthowisconsin.com. Ortho Wisconsin has treatment plans that can get you back to an active lifestyle and through the least invasive method possible. They take a multifaceted approach that allows them to use a variety of treatment options and find the best for you. Dr. Michael Nolte is their newest spine surgeon, and he and his colleagues are nationally recognized clinicians dedicated to enhancing quality of care for patients looking to restore and recover spinal function. Pain managing procedures are done at Ortho Wisconsin's Ambulatory Surgery Center in Pewaukee and at their Brookfield Clinic, and the more conservative treatments like physical therapy are offered at the New Berlin location as well. Find more info at orthowisconsin.com. In fact, if you have any shoulder, spine, hip, knee, or musculoskeletal pain, check out orthowisconsin.com. Orthopedic Associates of Wisconsin. There is a difference.
I'm Dan Voss from Cut and Go. Ugly and depressing and trees killed off by emerald ash, oak wilt, and Dutch elm disease are dangerous for friends and loved ones, even a potential liability. Slowly rotting, left-standing hardwood trees can weigh tens of thousands of pounds. Even seemingly smaller branches can weigh tens, even hundreds of pounds. With Cut and Go, there is no reason to risk injury or property damage. Live trees in precarious placement for an arborist to remove over homes, garages, commercial buildings, luxury landscapes are easily and safely laid on the ground by Cut and Go's NCCER crane-operated certified remote control automobile mounted articulating crane grapple saw operators. You can save big money and stock up on firewood by having Cut and Go put your trees on the ground for you to clean up or have a bonfire or split firewood. Or we can take it all with us when we leave. A Tons of Trees movement. Cut and Go trees.com. That's CUTNGO trees.com. Once again, that's cutandgotrees.com.
Restoring your home or business to its natural beauty is our only business. We are Wisconsin's most trusted carpet cleaner for over 75 years.
Edelman Carpet, Furniture, and Drapery Cleaning.
It's Edelman again. Edelman.
Hi,
Jerry Bott here for Holiday Mazda in Fond du Lac, the place where they matched me with an SUV that I absolutely love. You know what else I love about Holiday? Every team member I met was knowledgeable, friendly, and fully engaged. It's that genuine, friendly professionalism you feel that inspires trust and confidence.
Connect with the road, love what you drive, and where you get it. Shop the SUV season sales event at Holiday in Fond du Lac. Get more Mazda for your money, more for your trade, and score enticing offers like low 3.9% 72-month financing on favorites, including all-wheel drive Mazda CX-50 Hybrid, 2-row Mazda CX-70, and the 3-row Mazda CX-90.
I'm WISN's Jerry Bott. I'm a fan of Holiday. So's this guy.
This is New York running back Braylon Allen, and I drive Holiday. You can count on their genuine guest care and no pressure. It's real.
Find yours and drive it home today from Holiday Mazda Fond du Lac and HolidayMazda.com.
It's worth a trip.
The NFL is off to a wild start.
To the right, he's got a lane. Herbert right sideline to the 40, to the 45, to the 50. He slides down.
And the new season lives on iHeartRadio.
Under pressure, set.
Local stations bring you the action live.
Justin Jefferson.
Plus, fantasy advice and expert analysis with the official NFL Podcast Network.
Everything you love about football is on the iHeartRadio app.
It's knocked away, it's intercepted, picked off.
Just search NFL to dive in. Injured? Call Gruber Law.
One call, that's all.
We report, you decide. Factual, fair, and balanced coverage. Your exclusive home of Fox News Radio. This is News Talk 1130 WISN.
Very special edition of the Dan O'Donnell Show. Wisconsin Congressman Tom Tiffany joining us for this entire first hour as he has announced exclusively here on the Dan O'Donnell Show that he is running for governor in 2026. And he has been very gracious as to take some questions from you, our listeners. So Congressman Tiffany, if you wouldn't mind putting on those headphones, I don't want you to mess up your hair. Pause for a laugh.
Hey, some of us are follically challenged.
Hey, you know what? There's nothing. This hairline used to be like halfway down my forehead, and I'm 44, so it's holding on for dear life, sir. It is holding on for dear life. All right, let's go out to
13 minutes jam from 84th to Holly, and then right around
audio.
27th. Yeah, westbound delay 16 to Mitchell Boulevard.
Traffic alert. Okay. Shut up the traffic guy, because we really want to talk to Amy in Milwaukee as Congressman Tiffany is taking your questions. Amy, you are on the Dan O'Donnell Show with gubernatorial candidate Tom Tiffany.
Well, hi, Dan and Tom. How are you? My question is simple. With coming in after other candidates have already announced and been traveling around the state, what are you going to do different to catch up to them and actually win when other Republican candidates keep running and losing the gubernatorial races? And I feel like some of that has to do with using the same consultants, same advisors, same media firms. So I really want to hear from you what you're going to do different than some of your predecessors.
Well, thank you very much, Amy. Tom, you are getting in quite a bit later than other candidates. And Amy is very concerned about the fact that, let's face it, Republicans have been on a horrible losing streak over the past decade. Did you get in too late, she wants to know, and what are you going to do differently from Tim Michels, from Brad Schimmel, from Dan Kelly, from other candidates who lost statewide?
This is a really good question, Amy. So after the November election was over in 2024, I seriously thought about if I'm going to get in, when should I get in? And I thought about doing it right after the first of the year, but I thought it was inappropriate to do that because we had a big Supreme Court race coming up in April. And I did not want us to be losing focus in any way, shape, or form on that Supreme Court race in April. So then it was a matter of, do I announce after April? And through that period of time, I was really assessing assessing, should I do this? The thing that I really like, Dan, about how I've gone about this so far is it's been a steady, methodical process. We have done a thorough Oppo research on myself. We've done polling.
Find anything juicy?
No. Well, no, we haven't. Now, does somebody
You
else?
don't have any secret Medium accounts, do you? Okay. It's a very timely question, sir. I
think the worst thing is they refer to me as Toxic Tom, but anyhow, or there's a few people on the environmental left.
Oh,
those.
I don't even want to know. Dude, I made the mistake of looking up my name on Reddit the other day.
Oh boy, that's fun.
Yeah, exactly. Don't worry about that one bit.
So really wanted to do all those things to see, am I the best candidate to run in this race? And then by summer, I was like, yeah, I think I may be that person, but there was no reason to announce in summer.
Yeah.
I was like, we're going to announce after Labor Day. We finally had a week off here in Congress where we're home. And this is the week that worked out best to announce. So I'm happy with where we're at. I've got a top-notch team hired. I hired the top 6 positions on my staff for this campaign. They're all good people that are going to mesh and do a terrific job. We're going to have a strong team. We're going to do a good job of fundraising. I think one of the key things here is I've been very public about this. We're going to have to raise $30 to $40 million to be competitive. The Democrats the Democrats raise enormous amounts of money from the coastal elites, and we can cry about it or we can compete. I choose to compete.
How specifically do you plan to compete? Because that's a massive advantage that they've enjoyed.
Yeah, so we're going to raise $30 to $40 million, and I believe that there's going to be a lot of help. Remember, part of my responsibility is to show to some of the outside groups that will ultimately decide whether to play in this. Can I make this one of the top 2 or 3 races in the United States in terms of the governor's races? And if I do that, and I plan to do that, we're going to have a lot of resources coming into Wisconsin to help us win this race.
David in Richfield up next with Congressman Tom Tiffany. David, how you doing? Your question, sir.
I'm doing well, thank you, and thank you, Congressman, for making yourself available for this afternoon.
Yes, sir.
My question is, I've been looking forward to someone running for governor that would stand firm and start talking about income tax-free state for Wisconsin. 2-tier would be flat tax for Wisconsin. I just wonder your position on both of those issues right there.
Great question. Would you support an abolition of the Wisconsin income tax, or at least a flat state income tax, sir?
Yeah, I'd answer David's question this way. We're going to reduce taxes. If I'm elected as governor, we are going to reduce taxes. Now, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to freeze property taxes, because home ownership is getting out of reach for so many people across Wisconsin. And a component to that is high property taxes. And we want people to be able to stay in their homes. So that would be number one. But I also believe that we can reduce income taxes. Can we take it down to 0? I don't know the answer to that, but I know that we can reduce taxes. I mean, look at the last budget. For the first time, we blew through $100 billion. I think it ended up at like 112, something like that. We are spending almost as much money at the state budget as Florida does, that has 3.5 times as many people. Wisconsin does not have a revenue problem. It has a tax problem. There's plenty of revenue that's coming in. We have the ability, if we handle things properly, to be able to reduce taxes, including income taxes. And that is the commitment I would make to David here, is that I don't know if we can get to 0. But I am committed to reducing income taxes. But first, we're going to start with property taxes.
He is Wisconsin Congressman Tom Tiffany, so generous to join us for this entire hour. Hard to believe, but our time is already up, sir. I cannot tell you how much I do appreciate it. Before we say goodbye, where can people go to find more about your gubernatorial campaign?
Yeah, go to tomtiffany.com. You can find us there, and go to Tom Tiffany WI, and you can find information about us, and don't hesitate to contact the campaign.
He's Tom Tiffany. I'm Dan O'Donnell. Back after this.
94 eastbound Moreland to the Marquette, taking you 13 minutes. Jam from 84th to Hawley, and then right around 27th. You got westbound delays 16th to Mitchell Boulevard. Give yourself 16 minutes back to Moreland. Southbound 894 stall before Oklahoma is clear. I'm Kevin Henry. That's your latest total traffic.
This report is sponsored by First Choice Heating and Cooling. Get the Cadillac of furnaces at Chevy prices. First Choice Heating offers modulating furnaces at variable speed pricing. Save up to $2,500. September only. Call First Choice. Comfort that pays for itself.
Your home cleaning friend. It's Edelman again. Edelman.
You've held on to that old jewelry for years. Maybe it was a class ring, a broken chain, or a silver flatware from your parents' home. It meant something once, and it still does. But now it could mean something new. A chance to turn those tucked away treasures into real value at Robert Hack Diamonds. With gold at an all-time high, there's never been a better time to bring in your unwanted gold, silver, or diamonds. At Robert Hack Diamonds, you'll sit down one-on-one in a relaxed, respectful setting. They'll walk you through your items carefully, from coins and jewelry to sterling tea sets and even dental gold, and make you a fair, honest cash offer. No pressure, just real people who understand that sometimes it's more than metal, it's memories. If in doubt, bring it in. You might be surprised at what it's worth. 64 plus year tradition of treating every single client with dignity, fairness, and professionalism. It's not just about gold, it's about trust. Robert Hack Diamonds, 146th and Greenfield Avenue in Brookfield and 76th and Layton in Greenfield.
The free iHeartRadio app makes your car radio jealous.
Live radio presets, lyrics for songs, and the most podcasts on the planet.
Plus, it all fits in your pocket.
Your car radio can't do that.
Make sure the free iHeartRadio app is on your smartphone now.
The #1 app for radio.
Hi, I'm Tom Detlich with Grandview Homes. Life can move fast or slow or somewhere in between. So when you want to sell your home, we're here to work on your schedule. Whether you need to close in 10 days or need more time to get things in order, we'll make it happen. We'll buy your home completely as is, no matter the condition. At Grandview Homes, we know your time is precious, and we won't waste it by giving you the runaround. Just a fair, guaranteed offer on your schedule. Get your no-obligation offer at grandviewhomes.com today.
Imagine your home totally organized. At Closets by Design, we specialize in providing affordable, custom-built storage solutions with built-ins and beyond, from garages to new home offices. Our experienced designers work within your budget to design a solution fit perfectly to your needs. Get 40% off plus an additional 15% with 18-month financing. Visit closetsbydesign.com or call 1-800-BY-DESIGN to get started. Let's get organized together.
At Hazelden Betty Ford, treating mental health isn't just about breaking old patterns. It's about braving new ones. As the leader in alcohol and drug treatment for 75 years, we know caring for addiction, anxiety, depression, and trauma goes hand in hand. We're here for you with new tools when life breaks down at our new clinic in Hudson. Discover your path to better mental health at hazeldenbettyford.org/Hudson. Sponsored by Hazelden Betty Ford Foundation.
I'm Victor Harding, a true trial attorney at Warshevsky Law. You've heard our advertising for years. While it's been effective introducing Warshevsky to injured people in need of maximum judgments and settlements, most of our clients come from personal referral. Referrals from former clients grateful for the settlement or trial judgment Warshevsky won on their behalf. Thus, they're recommending us to friends and family. Referrals from people in the community, including other lawyers and judges who want to make sure their friends and family are taken care of. Still not sure? Ask around. Warshevsky is referred by Wisconsin law enforcement officers who've seen Warshevsky attorneys in action, desperate to make sure friends and family receive just compensation. Insurance adjusters, often our adversaries, refer their family members hurt in accidents. They know the work we do. They all refer Warshevsky because, big case or small, we can help. If someone you love is injured, please let them know, because at the end of their ordeal, their injury is about the money. Warshevsky.com.
Blue Mountain Express.
This is Rick Vanderboom with Blue Mountain Express Moving and Storage, and we'll improve your move.
BlueMountainExpress.com. We will improve your move.
Blue Mountain Express Moving and Storage, statewide.
Adventures.com.
The next generation is here. All programs on News Talk 1130 WISN are broadcast through the NX Wealth Management Studios. NX Wealth Management. Know the difference. Listen to Benjamin Yount, weekday mornings 9 to 11 on News Talk 1130 WISN Milwaukee. And make WISN the #1 preset on your car radio and on the new iHeart app. Free never sounded so good.
Good afternoon. I'm Sean Maloney. President Trump said today that Ukraine can win back all territory lost to Russia, a dramatic shift from the U.S. leader's call on Kiev to make concessions to end the war. Trump offered his position in a social media post soon after meeting with Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky on the sidelines of the United Nations General Assembly gathering of world leaders. Tom Tiffany is running for governor. The northern Wisconsin congressman announced his decision today on WISN's Dan O'Donnell Show and has a campaign kickoff event tomorrow in Wausau. Business news brought to you by the Good Feed store. The Dow was down 88 3/4 points today. The S&P 500 down nearly 37 points, and the NASDAQ down 215.5 points. Checking the holiday automotive Final X Sports scoreboard, the Brewers take on the Padres tonight in San Diego. From the Orthopedic Associates of Wisconsin News Center, I'm Sean Maloney on Wisconsin's most listened to radio station, News Talk 1130 WISN.
Here's the latest forecast presented by AdventKnows.com from the Fox 6 weather experts.
Quiet tonight with some patchy fog overnight. Temperatures dropping through the 60s and settling in the 50s by morning. Mostly cloudy, breezy, and cool on Wednesday. A slight chance for a rain shower and highs in the mid to upper 60s. I'm Fox 6 Chief Meteorologist Tom Walks.
This report is sponsored by Rapid Radios.
Stay connected and stay productive with Rapid Radios. Business owners trust Rapid Radios for instant, reliable team communication with nationwide LTE coverage, push-to-talk convenience, and room for up to 200 units on one feed. Keeping connected's never been easier.
Order now at rapidradios.com.
You're great at protecting your data, but lots of places could still expose you to identity theft. If that happens, LifeLock gives you the U.S.-based restoration agent who will stick by your side from start to finish. Phone calls, filing documentation, preparing insurance claims. Your agent handles it all. In fact, they're so confident restoration is guaranteed or your money back. It's nice to have an expert like that on your side. Save up to 40% off your first year with promo code Beck at LifeLock.com. That's LifeLock.com. Terms apply.
Allie Dwyer and her 3 sons lost their hero, Stephen. Serving our country in the United States Army was Stephen's calling, and flying helicopters was his passion. Stephen was killed in a Black Hawk helicopter crash over the Mediterranean Sea. Thanks to friends like you, Tunnel to Towers provided his family with a mortgage-free home, giving them security and hope in their darkest hours. Help more families like the Dwyers. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org. That's T2T.org.
I'm Fred Schwertfeger, president at Horicon Bank. We're a community-focused bank, proudly family and employee-owned. With our ongoing success in the Milwaukee area, we've expanded our team, adding 2 seasoned professionals, mortgage loan originator Nick Hiltz and business development officer Eric Weisenan. Nick, what is it about Horicon Bank that resonates with you?
It's Horicon Bank's active commitment to better serving the needs of home buyers in and around Milwaukee. I'm eager to make home financing easier and more accessible for those who live in this area.
Eric, your turn. What motivated you to migrate to Horicon Bank?
At Horicon Bank, they build genuine relationships with their customers. I'm excited to leverage my experience to help local businesses thrive and grow. It's community banking at its finest.
Stop by our Wauwatosa branch at the Mayfair Collection to meet Nick and Eric and to see why Horicon Bank is the natural choice.
Horicon Bank, NMLS 434805. Member FDIC and equal housing lender. Nicholas Hiltz, NMLS 759701.
Bob built a brand over the same 20 years INET has. I bought multiple properties over those years. Bob gets real estate like I never will.
In real estate, every brokerage does the same thing. MLS. Adding auction bidding to MLS, I knew if INET branded it, told our story, home sellers would understand and accept this real estate revolutionizing platform.
You can be the best in your industry like Redefined Realty is. Even revolutionize your industry like Redefined Realty has with auction. Yet, it's your story that sells.
You can't tell your story as well as INET Creative Genius will tell your story.
Real estate for winners is exactly what Redefined Realty and auction has always been.
Steven knocked our brand and marketing out of the park.
Selling a home? If you don't use Redefine's MLS and auction platform, you'll leave closing with less money than you would have. Tragic and that simple.
Websites, branding, design, video, and radio. INET is improving marketing for winners.
INETJustWeb.com.
CreativeGeniusMarketing.com.
Real estate for winners. redefinedrealty.com.
Lock in for October. Brewers postseason tickets are on sale now. Clear your schedule, claim your spot, and be here for a Brewers postseason run unlike any other at brewers.com/postseason.
Dan O'Donnell here, cordially inviting you to our next incredible European getaway to Prague, the enchanting capital of the Czech Republic, this April. We'll explore the Prague Castle, the world's largest ancient castle, which dates back to the 9th century and is as beautiful as it is historical. Then we'll step into Český Krumlov, a UNESCO World Heritage Site that offers stunning medieval Bohemian architecture and sweeping views of mountain vistas towering over cobblestone streets and the gorgeous Vltava River. We'll enjoy an authentic Czech festival inside a medieval castle with dinner, drinks, and traditional dance and folklore. And we'll do it all together. My friends at Cruise and Tour take care of all the details, so the only thing you need to do is show up and share in an unforgettable trip at an unbelievable value. Space is extremely limited, so book your spot today at cruise-tour.com. Well, it would seem the field is now set on the Republican side. Congressman Tom Tiffany just announced about an hour ago, exclusively here on the Dan O'Donnell Show, that he is running for governor in 2026. It wasn't the most unexpected news. I do believe we did a great job keeping it quiet. Everyone thought he was going to announce at a big event tomorrow in Wausau. Nope, made the announcement today. He is in. He now joins Washington County Executive Josh Showman and New Berlin businessman, I guess Whitefish Bay businessman. His business is in New Berlin. He's from Whitefish Bay. Bill Berrien as the three Republicans in this race. The Democrat field is incredibly crowded. We just had State Representative Francesca Hong in Madison get in. The big candidates, the major candidates in this race are Milwaukee County Executive David Crowley and Lieutenant Governor Sarah Rodriguez, who has just had a disastrous start to her campaign. Kelda Helen Royce is also in, the state senator who previously ran and finished third in the 2018 gubernatorial primary. I guess she's dropped the Helen now. I guess it's just Kelda Royce. State senator also in this race. All eyes are now on Josh Call, Democrat Attorney General. And I am hearing that if Call doesn't get in, and it certainly doesn't seem, folks, like Call is going to enter this race. He basically has not raised any money this year. Remember, it was a huge tell that State Supreme Court Justice Rebecca Bradley was not going to seek a second 10-year term on the bench when campaign finance reporting was out that showed she did not raise a single cent. Well, it's looking like Josh Call might not actually get into this gubernatorial race. And I am hearing, as well as praying, that if he doesn't get in, the word is that our old buddy, former Lieutenant Governor, failed Senate candidate Mandela, affectionately known as Man Deadbeat here on this program, Barnes, is going to get in. That is, of course, if Call doesn't. Sort of like Milwaukee's Mayor Cavalier Johnson said he would get in if David Crowley, Milwaukee County Executive, would not. Producer Dave, on loan from the Ben Yount Show, sitting in for Eric Paulson today, asks a very good question. Why would only one of them get in? Very, very good question, young Padawan learner, who's actually older than I am. It's because the Evers administration clearly hates Lieutenant Governor Rodriguez, right? You might remember that Rodriguez got in and had a video that was ready to go a week before Evers actually announced that he was not going to seek a third term. The reason for that is because we broke here on this program that Evers was going to, and I said, citing multiple Capitol sources, that within the next 24 to 36 hours, Evers was going to announce he wasn't going to seek a third term. I said, look, I can't say this for certain, but I just keep hearing this. And it's not like I'm reporting some unfounded rumor. These are people who would be in a position to know. Well, Evers' press secretary, his communications director, did a victory lap and said that my sources were full of crap when 36 hours, she actually waited until 36 hours had passed to then spike the football and say Dan O'Donnell is full of crap. Well, what clearly happened is they moved the announcement back a week solely out of spite. I have since had it confirmed to me that that is exactly why they moved that decision. And Sarah Rodriguez's video proved it. She put up her I'm running video on the day that I had first reported that Evers was going to step aside. I said it was going to be Thursday, like July 17th or something like that. He ended up resigning on the 24th. They put it on YouTube, but made it private so that nobody could see it, and then just made the video public on July 25th, forgetting that it still says, hey, this video was first created on July 17th. In other words, when Evers was first going to announce, she proved that they had moved Evers' retirement announcement because of me. She proved it. As a result, Evers was furious with her. Evers' team was livid with her. And in fact, in the aftermath of that, Evers was asked flat out, are you going to endorse in this race? And he said, as only Tony Evers can, well, if somebody gets in this race that I really want to win and they need my endorsement, then I'll endorse. The only candidate in the race at that point was his own lieutenant governor, Sarah Rodriguez. Clearly, he's never going to endorse Rodriguez, but he might endorse somebody who has served in his administration, like, say, his former lieutenant governor, Mandela Barnes, who would only get in if the attorney general, Josh Cole, would not, because the thinking is only one of them would get the Evers endorsement, would get all of the political muscle of Team Evers behind them. It's the same thing with County Executive David Crowley and Milwaukee's Mayor Cavalier Johnson. They're both from the same geographic area. They both hold very, very similar positions. They're both black guys in their 30s. They both desperately want to be Barack Obama. I mean, the similarities are just endless between those two. Yeah, much more Chevy than David Crowley, who, can we now safely say he got the college degree because he was planning to run for governor? This guy, I still have not gotten a straight answer. If he was going to college and getting his degree, which again, I am a big fan of. I think it's awesome that the county executive went back, got his degree. I think that's awesome. I think everybody, if they have the time, if they have the money to do it, if they want to do it, it's just something to do. It's something to have. It's an accomplishment. It's a life accomplishment. I would never besmirch anybody. But if he was getting paid by Milwaukee County taxpayer money and he was going to school instead of doing Milwaukee County taxpayer business, look, I'm old enough to remember when poor Darlene Wink got criminally charged because she was posting nice comments about her boss, then county executive Scott Walker, while on county time. All right. So normally we would do the daily Trump date here. I believe we're going to push that to the 5 o'clock hour because I do have some excerpts from President Trump's speech to the United Nations, his first one since reclaiming the presidency last November. You know, he has wanted to stick it to the UN ever since he got back into office, and his speech reflected that, just a pointed rebuke of an organization that really is little more than a left-wing cesspool. But I do want to follow up on our big first hour, because there is a lot to reflect on the Wisconsin political scene now, as a candidate who many consider to be a prohibitive favorite now to win the Republican nomination did announce last hour on the Dan O'Donnell Show. Now, you might be asking yourself, you might think, Dan, is it really that important? You keep saying Congressman Tom Tiffany announced live exclusively on the Dan O'Donnell Show. Is it important that you keep reminding people that he announced live on the show? It seems kind of self-aggrandizing. Well, you would think so, but it's apparently necessary. Giant article in Wisconsin's self-styled newspaper of record, the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel, available right now, jsonline.com. Lengthy, well over 1,500-word article about Tom Tiffany getting in the gubernatorial race, without ever once mentioning where he announced that he was getting in the gubernatorial race. How exactly does that happen? Now, I'm not saying I need to have in the headline, U.S. Rep. Tom Tiffany announces on the Dan O'Donnell Show that he's running for governor. But it would be nice. You could put me in like paragraph 45, but just acknowledge where he made the announcement. Big story. Lawrence Andrea, Milwaukee Journal Sentinel writer. U.S. Rep. Tom Tiffany enters the 2026 race for Wisconsin governor, third Republican in the field. They did not once announce that he announced the gubernatorial run on my show. Is Dan Bice messaging me right now? No, I'm seeing producer Dave knows me well enough. He thinks I'm distracted. No, what I'm watching for is for them to do what's known as a stealth edit, because I just during the commercial break called them out on X. So what they'll do is they'll very quietly, without any editor's note, just drop it. Yes, he first made the announcement on the Dan O'Donnell Show. Local right-wing bigot who was hounding us on social media. I was making sure that they didn't do that. And then they'll do that, much like Tony Evers, so that Dan O'Donnell will be wrong. Frankly, I don't care. We have got much more listenership and viewership on social media than the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel does for things they post on their website. Town Hall gave me, of course, Town Hall gave me credit, because Town Hall is actually a reputable site. Was it Amy Curtis? Was she the reporter? It was. She's fantastic. A Wisconsin lady, great friend of the Dan O'Donnell Show. She just went to townhall.com from twitchy.com. She is tremendous. Follow her, I believe, at Ranty Amy Curtis on X. Very, very solid conservative. Of course, she'd give me credit because she has journalistic ethics. But this is not about Dan O'Donnell getting credit from the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel, something we know will never, ever, 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 ever happen. This is about the state of the race here in Wisconsin. The Tiffany campaign clearly wants people to believe that this race is now over, that there's nothing that Josh Showman or Bill Berrien can do to wrestle this nomination away from him. In order for Berrien to wrestle away the nomination from Tiffany, someone would have to wrestle away all of that transgender porn that he's looking at. I'm kidding. I promised myself I would give myself like one Bill Berrien following all sorts of weird transgender and swinger blog posts on Medium per hour. That was my allotted one. He followed someone named Jiz Lee, for goodness sakes, ladies and gentlemen. That's the guy's name, Dave. It's the guy's name. I am doing it as a news story. But see, this is what I don't like about my former producer now being in management. See, are you trying to censor me like conservatives did to Jimmy Kimmel? Am I going to lose my show now for a grand total of 4 days? So help me God. I will have every single insane lib screaming about the death of free speech if you do anything to me, assistant to the regional manager / producer Dave, because I said are you telling me that transgender people are overtly sexual and write about weird perverted things? I respectfully disagree. I believe Mr. Lee, I can't say his first name. The man's first name is Jizz. We're all adults here. We're all adults. We can just accept the fact that a Republican candidate for governor was following a transgender author whose first name, I don't even want to say it because now I actually am kind of convinced that I might get into trouble. Now the Journal Sentinel headline is going to be radio's Dan O'Donnell suspended for saying the first name of the transgender porn star that Bill Berrien was following on Medium. All right, folks, all of his other issues aside, I think that's probably the death knell for Bill Berrien's campaign. I like Bill. I know a lot of you folks have serious concerns about all of his anti-Trump stuff and the fact that he was following a transgender porn star named Psych. I just had producer Dave already on the hotline with the FCC. Guys, he's doing it again. Yep. Give him the Jimmy Kimmel treatment. Berrien's campaign was already, I think, sort of on life support, even though he was able to self-fund to the tune of several $1 million. And that's why he had a TV and radio presence that has since waned a little bit. Whereas Josh Schoeman did not. Schoeman has been in this race, though, for 5 months? And it doesn't appear that he is getting the sort of traction or the buzz that he would have hoped for. Has there been any polling? There has been one poll. It was done by Fabrizio Ward. Are you intentionally trying to distract me so I don't say the transgender porn star's name again? I think this is what producer David said. See, we get back together and it's just this sort of stuff may fly in middays. Producer Dave was my producer for when I did the midday show for 8 years, 7 years, 6 years. And this sort of stuff would fly. We are in the prestigious afternoon drive time slot where I swear the audience will punish you just like Bill Berrien wants to be punished by that transgender porn star. Okay, I'm done. That was 2 jokes. I'm over my allotment, and I promise I will drop it. The only polling that was done in this race was by Fabrizio Ward, which is President Trump's pollster, and it found Tiffany just running away with this thing. Now, there are legitimate concerns about whether this was a sort of push poll designed to get Berrien and Schoeman out of this race. And I have said that in elections like I think the country would have been going into before the assassination of Charlie Kirk, Josh Schoeman, he is the candidate profile that wins. Young, energetic, military background, executive leadership. He doesn't have a long voting record. He's someone who can energize young people. Young conservatives are about as energized, they're about as angry as it gets. And the thinking of many midterm elections is that the party that does not control the presidency does very well because their voters are so angry. Anger is a great motivator in politics. Conservatives are about as angry as it gets. It has nothing to do with elections. It has to do with the fact that one of us was just hunted down and executed for daring to speak his mind in front of a crowd, and our political opponents laughed about it, gloated about it, and then pretend that a comedian who lied about it, getting suspended from his network TV show for 4 days, was the actual great First Amendment martyr and not Charlie Kirk. I believe that the calculus has completely changed in this race. But I do actually want to know, folks, what you think. We will take your phone calls, 414-799-1130. Also your texts. What is the state of the race now that Tom Tiffany, the Republican congressman, is in? You are listening to the Dan O'Donnell Show. Conservative thought, not just talk, and some silliness too. Back in 3 minutes.
The next generation is here. You're listening to the Dan O'Donnell Show.
From the place you want to go, Lynch McGuanago Traffic Center.
Crash with injuries in Waukesha, Lonsdale Road, west of Oakdale Drive, and you got a crash on the right shoulder, 43 southbound after Fond du Lac. Delays from Center to the Marquette. I'm Kevin Henry. That's your latest total traffic.
This report is sponsored by Wendy's. Get 2 #1 selling bacon cheeseburgers and fast food. Wendy's JBC, plus medium fries and soft drink for just $8. Total game changer. Order today, limited time only. Price and participation may vary. Request $8 JBC meal deal to obtain discount. Claim per independent marketing research company.
With gold at an all-time high, now is a smart time to turn your unwanted gold, silver, or diamonds into cash. And no one makes it easier than Robert Hack Diamonds. Those old-class rings, broken chains, dental gold, even coins, silver flatware, and tea sets could be worth more than you think. Robert Hack Diamonds will sit down with you, walk through each item, and make you a fair, no-pressure cash offer. Whether you're cleaning out a jewelry box or settling an estate, if in doubt, bring it in. They need your gold to create custom pieces for their customers, so this is a win-win. Trusted by generations and backed by expert appraisers, Robert Hack Diamonds ensures you get top dollar. Stop by Robert Hack Diamonds and see what your forgotten items are really worth. They have a 64-plus year tradition of treating every single client with dignity, fairness, and professionalism. Gold is at an all-time high. The process is simple. The time to cash in is now. Robert Hack Diamonds, 146th and Greenfield Avenue in Brookfield and 76th and Layton in Greenfield.
We're the Libby family
at Do-It-Yourself Bathroom Center near State Fair on 62nd and Greenfield.
Bathrooms and kitchens are our specialty.
We use real wood cabinets and quartz tops to make beautiful rooms you will love for many, many years.
And our experts really know their stuff.
Remember our slogan,
I did it myself at Do-It-Yourself.
You ever hear a deal so good you think, what's the catch?
Yes, when I got a free gym membership and the catch was I still had to go.
Well, right now, Capital is offering great financing, no catch.
No selling a kidney?
Nope, just easy financing and honest service during Capital Credit Days. Now through October 31st, air conditioners start as low as $65 a month, furnaces only $59 a month, or a complete system only $117 a month.
Capital, where you choose cool or cozy with no catch financing.
Call CapitalCares.com.
For more information about contests on News Talk 1130 WISN, go to newstalk1130.com/rules.
For a home cleaning friend, it's Edelman again. Edelman.
Make News Talk 1130 WISN your #1 preset on our free iHeartRadio app, powered by Gruber Law.
One call, that's all.
Injured?
Remember, one call, that's all.
Opinion, emotion, passion. This is News Talk 1130 WISN. Profound insight, piercing analysis. This is News Talk 1130 WISN.
I was just trying to make my producer nervous that I was going to come back from commercial break and say the name of that transgender porn star again. You've got to laugh at this stuff, folks. You have got to laugh. Welcome back to the Dan O'Donnell Show. No, I was actually... The work never ends on this program. I may not get the credit from the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel, but we do break a ton of news here, including one of the more significant political announcements, I think, of the year. Republican Congressman Tom Tiffany announcing on the Dan O'Donnell Show that he is indeed running for governor. Yes, for those asking, this does mean that he is going to have to give up his seat in Congress. That creates an open seat. And what I can tell you is that the Trump administration has been very concerned about the razor-thin margin in the House, even going so far as to rescind its nomination of Elise Stefanik as UN ambassador because they didn't think that a non-incumbent candidate could win her House seat in New York State. Tiffany's seat was held by David Obey for a long, long time. And in fact, he had the record for longest tenure in the House of Representatives from Wisconsin until that was broken by Jim Sensenbrenner a couple of years ago. Because of President Trump, and even before him, Sean Duffy, right? Duffy was first elected, I believe, in 2014. Yeah, no, I know he replaced Obey, but was that 20? Yeah, it was 2012. Okay, so first it was Sean Duffy who replaced Dave Obey in 2012. The Tea Party was 2010. Look that up, producer Dave, because it was, I wrote an entire piece on this about how the Northwoods swung conservative. Yeah, Obey saw the writing on the wall. Sean Duffy, reality TV star, just an incredibly talented politician. He's now the Secretary of Transportation, just doing incredible work there in the Trump administration. And Obey saw the writing on the wall and retired. And Duffy held that seat and really didn't face much competition for it until he decided to step aside. His wife, Rachel, has an incredibly successful TV career on Fox News. They had a little baby who was born with Down syndrome. He wanted to devote more time to his family. He even joined his wife in, I think they did a podcast. They did a cookbook together. He moved out of the state. They moved out to New Jersey to be closer to the Fox News studios because obviously it's an incredible career for Rachel, who's just a very talented broadcaster. Then out of the state legislature comes Tom Tiffany, very, very, very well-respected state ledge. And he just sweeps to victory. I don't think his seat is going to be within 10. Now, you don't know. The power of the incumbency is very strong. But the Trump administration should not worry about the fact that he getting in this race is going to create a potential flip. It's not. There's no serious political analyst, short of just a cataclysmic blue wave that looks like makes 2018 look like a ripple. It's not going to happen. Also, it is widely believed that the assassination of Charlie Kirk was such a seminal political move. This transcends politics, folks. And I don't believe its impact can even be picked up in polls. I believe this has the effect of potentially turning an entire generation of young people into not just conservatives, but active voting, proselytizing conservatives. Already, a whole lot of ink was spilled about Democrats' major problems with young men, that Generation Z and Generation Alpha coming up behind them were about the most conservative generations in, half a century at least. I mean, think about where the boomers were. Think about, you might have to go back to Generation X kind of coming up in that yuppie era, but even they were more rebellious, the grunge era. There was rock the vote and that sort of thing. I don't think we've ever seen anything like this. And this was before the assassination of the best known political commentator of that generation in Charlie Kirk. We've just never seen anything like this. I actually asked Tiffany in our big exclusive interview last week if that changed his mind about running, because so many people across generations, especially those who are already politically conservative, saw what happened to Charlie and said, you know what? No more. I'm going to do what I can for this movement. I am going to do what I can for this country. I am not going to let the increasingly radicalized, unhinged, frankly, dangerous left run roughshod over all of the things that I hold dear. Now, he said he didn't, but the assassination, I do believe, changes quite a bit about this election. Now, it's a fool's errand to try to predict what the biggest motivating factor is going to be a year and a month and a half out from a midterm election or any election. But what I'm saying is that this isn't a specific issue. This is far bigger than, right now where we're arguing about free speech, and somehow liberals are pretending, after kicking people off of social media at the government's behest, which, by the way, we're going to get into. Hopefully we have time for this. YouTube making a massive announcement saying, oh, yeah, we totally bowed to government pressure and wrongly kicked off a whole bunch of people during the social media censorship era of 2020 to about 2024. Our bad. Liberals trying to pretend that they're the champions of free speech is kind of like Bill Berrien pretending that he only looks at Medium for the articles. All right, I promise that is my last Bill Berrien looking at a whole bunch of weird porn on the blogging site Medium joke. What do you think about this election as it stands now? Do you feel good about Republicans finally breaking a decade-long losing streak? Folks, save for Senator Ron Johnson, who won re-election twice, and President Trump, who won statewide here in Wisconsin in 2016 and 2024, there have been a grand total of 2 Republicans or conservatives who have won. And one is sort of 1.5 because it's alleged conservative Supreme Court Justice Brian Hagedorn. The other is State Treasurer John Lieber. That's it. Honest to goodness, that is it since Trump won in 2016. We had a couple of near misses. I still think the greatest injustice was Eric Hovde getting absolutely robbed of what should have been a win over Tammy Baldwin in the Senate race last year. Thank you very much, Thomas Leaguer, that mentally challenged buffoon who is clearly used by Democrats as a spoiler candidate, even though he's far too dumb to see it. His vote total was the exact same margin between Tammy Baldwin and Eric Hovde. In other words, if he was not in this race, Eric Hovde wins. All right. So, folks, when we come back, we're going to step aside for a break. We're going to take your phone calls. We're going to read some of your texts. What do you think about the state of play in the Wisconsin gubernatorial race now that Congressman Tom Tiffany is in, and it appears the field is set?
Now, here's traffic from Tri-City National Bank, your hometown bank. Call the Tri-City Total Traffic Tip Line at 414-944-5111.
Just under 20 minutes northbound 4145 between the Zoo and Good Hope. Delays breaking after Hampton. Heavy delays southbound from Good Hope to Capitol. Give yourself 15 down to the Zoo. Crash 43 southbound after Fond du Lac is clear. I'm Kevin Henry. That's your latest total traffic.
This report is sponsored by the Harlem Globetrotters. This isn't just a game. It's a once-in-a-generation event. The Harlem Globetrotters 100-year tour. Come be a part of a legacy that never stops. Be there when history is made. The Harlem Globetrotters 100-year tour. Get your tickets today at harlemglobetrotters.com.
For many of us, it feels like dark times. Politics are putrid. The culture is rancid. Proper values are nearly extinct. There's an overwhelming urge to block it all out, which is exactly the wrong thing to do. Instead, draw from a cauldron of faith, honor, and virtue, and find the courage to fight for what is right. The moment has never been more critical. Positive change starts with you, and we'll be right beside you. News Talk 1130 WISN.
Business owners, want to sell your business? At Lake Country Advisors, our team will meet with you face-to-face and will answer all your questions confidentially. Visit lakecountryadvisors.com and schedule a free consultation. Local, experienced, and trusted. We are Lake Country Advisors.
Dan O'Donnell here for my good friends at Mander Collision and Glass, the only place I've trusted my vehicles with for years now. Their customer service is impeccable, and their workmanship is so good, they guarantee it for life. But don't just take my word for it. Here's a 5-star review from Alana. Mander was amazing. From Noel at the front desk to Nikki, who helped coordinate my insurance and repairs, I could not have had a better experience. My 2021 Subaru Forester looks brand new. I honestly don't think I've had this great of a customer service experience in my life. I'll refer anyone and everyone to Mander if they ever find themselves in a bind. Thank you so much. No, thank you, Alana, for helping me spread the word about just how great Mander is. Wherever you are in the greater Milwaukee and Waukesha area, there's a service center near you. So start your repair now at mandercollision.com.
Hello, I'm Joe Cordell, founder of Cordell & Cordell. Divorce is complicated, especially when your small business or professional practice is involved. At Cordell & Cordell, we understand that these assets raise unique valuation and allocation issues. For 35 years, we've helped doctors, lawyers, and small business owners navigate divorce with confidence. Call us at Cordell & Cordell. Let me tell you, I understand on a personal level, your business is much more than a job. It's your legacy.
111 East Kilbourne, Milwaukee. CordellCordell.com.
Dan O'Donnell here. It is this week with Annex Wealth Management. I am joined, as I am every week, by the CEO of Annex, Dave Spano. And Dave, we finally at long last have our interest rate cut from the Fed. So I guess the question is, now what?
Yeah, exactly. So we have the change in policy, and the change in policy is now rate cuts. We expect some more probably as soon as next month as well. So you see all of these fiscal changes. We know about the Fed changing policy, probably going to see a couple of more cuts. We know about all the tariff revenue coming in and the new tax bill. So you think the market would celebrate, and it really has, especially as we go into the last quarter of the year. Year end is generally a good time of the year, but you have to offset that, Dan, with all the stuff on the other side of the ledger, and that is a potential U.S. government shutdown. That is in front of us. We'll see where this is going to go. You see that Russia is really tempting those NATO lines, as well as the policy that's in front of us. What does it do? It's, let's just call it fluent. The policy is changing pretty often, but the market is reacting. The Dow over 46,000 right now and continuing to head north, at least for the moment. Dan, this is the reason why people have all of these changes in their portfolios. They have to make sure it is lined up with what is reality, your tax plan, your estate plan, your financial plan, and of course, your investment plan.
We've got our rate cut, but admittedly, we don't exactly know what's coming next. Possibly more rate cuts, probably. We're not entirely sure, and that's kind of the thing. The world is full of uncertainty, the financial world even more so, and that's why you need to know what you own and why you own it. Head to annexwealth.com. For Dave Spano, I'm Dan O'Donnell. This has been This Week with Annex Wealth Management.
Hi, it's Roman Weniger at Five Corners announcing the biggest savings event ever. Get 0% financing for 72 months on new Ram trucks, or get $13,000 off and 3.9% for 72 months. Drive a new Jeep Grand Cherokee and get $7,500 off with rebates and discounts. New Chrysler Pacifica. Yes, $5,000 off at Five Corners. Take home the big savings today. Need your vehicle serviced right? You can count on our outstanding certified service technicians with 40 service bays. Drive into Fall Event at Five Corners Dodge, Chrysler Jeep and Ram Truck, Highway 60, Cedarburg.
Injured? Call Gruber Law.
One call, that's all.
Hey, this is Matt Jones. I'm Drew Franklin, and this is NFL Cover Zero. We're just here to try to give you an NFL perspective a little bit different. Did you see the Colts pretzel? That was my other big takeaway from that game. What was that? Oh, my. We think NFL coverage should be informative and entertaining. And twice a week, that is exactly what you're going to get. Open up your free iHeartRadio app, search NFL Cover Zero with Matt Jones and Drew Franklin, and listen now.
Welcome back to the Dan O'Donnell Show as Wisconsin's Congressman Tom Tiffany enters the race. He spent the entire 3 o'clock hour with us making that announcement and then discussing his run. We want to know what you think as we take calls, read some texts, and start with Mike in Greenfield up first on the Dan O'Donnell Show. What's going on, Mike?
Hey, Dan. Well, Hovde and Michaels came out soft. They didn't get their name recognition. They didn't attack. They basically came out like nice people. And like you said before, anger is a huge motivator. We're mad. We're mad our state is going to heck. We got girls that are attacked in locker rooms and sports. We have all kinds of things going on. The list is endless. We're mad. He's got to come out swinging.
So what you're saying is you want a candidate who would meet the moment. I think now that grief over Charlie Kirk's assassination has sort of turned to, and I won't say anger, because that kind of gives the left what they want, that, oh my gosh, this is going to be, as Congressman Mark Pocan said, our Reichstag fire moment in one of the most classless, disgusting comments in a whole sea of classless, disgusting comments from liberals in the wake of Charlie's assassination. Our grief has sort of turned to resolve. And what you're saying, I think, is that you want a candidate who is going to match that, who's going to say, look, we have a governor who has screwed up this state for the past 8 years. We have got a Trump economy that is doing very well. But as Tiffany himself said, Wisconsin is one of the bottom 10 states for job creation. And he listed off a whole bunch of stats where we are really falling behind. I think the saddest irony of all is that Evers fancies himself the education governor. And yet we now rank well behind Mississippi for fourth grade. We are the worst state in the country, according to the most recent state national test scores, for educating black fourth graders. Worst in the country. Worse than Louisiana, worse than South Carolina, worse than the Deep South, worse than every other state that you would stereotypically think is just poor at education. So you want somebody, and I think a lot of folks who are listening to me right now want somebody who matches their, I want to say righteous anger, but that sounds so pejorative. What they want is someone who is as frustrated as they are, someone who is as pumped up and psyched up and motivated to win as they are. And you're right. It never really seemed like Brad Schimmel or Dan Kelly or Tim Michaels or Dan Kelly again ever met that moment. And a big part is that that's just not their personalities. And I think Tom Tiffany as well is, you could see, is a bit more passionate, is a bit more energetic than some of those candidates. But you're not going to get a fire-breathing orator who is going to come in and just light the world on fire with his powerful rhetoric. Here is a great question from Gilbert, who is watching us on our YouTube stream. The big question is, has Tiffany improved the pool of Republican candidates as much or more than he is potentially harming the Republican position in Congress? As I explained, Gilbert, I don't think it's harming the Republican position in Congress at all, because he's not coming from a swing district or a district that even the Democrats think that they have a chance of winning. The voters in his district, the North Woods, those are all Republicans now. For decades, they were blue-collar, white, working-class Democrats. The Democrat Party abandoned them, so much so that by the time the Tea Party wave arrived in 2010, longtime Democrat Congressman Dave Obey was heading for the exits because he knew that there was just no way he was ever going to beat Sean Duffy. Now, I'm never going to say never in politics. I'm never going to say that an election is in the bag, but I just don't think that there is any concern that Democrats will come in and pick off a seat because Tom Tiffany is giving up that seat in the North Woods. We will get to some of your texts when the Dan O'Donnell Show returns in just 5 minutes.
From the Lynch Truck Center in Waterford Total Traffic Center.
Just under 20 minutes northbound 4145 between the Zoo and Good Hope. Delays breaking after Hampton. Heavy delays southbound from Good Hope to Capitol. Give yourself 15 down to the Zoo. Crash 43 southbound after Fond du Lac is clear. I'm Kevin Henry. That's your latest total traffic.
This report is sponsored by the International Hot Rod Association.
The International Hot Rod Association and Durana Hybrid, where horsepower meets hard work. We're reigniting the spirit of racing and the power of skilled trades. Mentorship, education, legacy fuels the future on the track and in the trades. Get your tickets now at ihra.com.
Hey, it's Vicki McKenna for Byrna, the compact kinetic self-defense tool you've been hearing me rave about. You know I carry, but I also follow the law, and lots of places post against concealed carry license holders. But there's no way I'm going anywhere unprotected. Enter Byrna, the compact, less lethal launcher for times when a gun is just not an option. Byrna is not a gun. It is a tool that is equipped with less lethal kinetic or chemical rounds. It's legal everywhere, and it packs a big punch designed to disable an attacker and give me time to escape. So let's say you can't or you don't want to carry. Well, Byrna's compact launcher can give you the edge you need to protect yourself long enough to survive. Byrna is really small and easy to conceal. It has zero recoil and requires no background checks, and it's trusted by hundreds of police departments and government agencies worldwide. So visit Byrna.com today to find the right launcher for you. That's BYRNA.com.
Catch the final battle of the regular season. The Brewers host the Reds Friday, September 26th through Sunday, September 28th. Get in on Fan Appreciation Night and a tumbler giveaway on Saturday the 27th. Close out the regular season with the crew. Get your tickets at Brewers.com.
With gold at an all-time high, now is a smart time to turn your unwanted gold, silver, or diamonds into cash. And no one makes it easier than Robert Hack Diamonds. Those old class rings, broken chains, dental gold, even coins, silver flatware, and tea sets could be worth more than you think. Robert Hack Diamonds will sit down with you, walk through each item, and make you a fair, no-pressure cash offer. Whether you're cleaning out a jewelry box or settling an estate, if in doubt, bring it in. They need your gold to create custom pieces for their customers, so this is a win-win. Trusted by generations and backed by expert appraisers, Robert Hack Diamonds ensures you get top dollar. Stop by Robert Hack Diamonds and see what your forgotten items are really worth. They have a 64-plus year tradition of treating every single client with dignity, fairness, and professionalism. Gold is at an all-time high. The process is simple. The time to cash in is now. Robert Hack Diamonds, 146th and Greenfield Avenue in Brookfield and 76th and Layton in Greenfield.
Dan O'Donnell here, cordially inviting you to our next European getaway in Prague, the enchanting capital of the Czech Republic, this April. We'll explore the world's largest ancient castle, tour a medieval village, and even take in an authentic Czech festival inside a castle. My friends at Cruise and Tour handle all the details and make it as easy and fun as possible, but space is extremely limited, so book your spot today at cruise-tour.com.
If you are waiting for a sign to finally create your will, this is it. I'm attorney Tom Grieve with Grieve's Civil Law. Many people intend to make a will, but never get around to it. It's heartbreaking when grieving loved ones have the added stress of going through probate. Don't let that be the case for your family. Give them and you the peace of mind that everything is taken care of. Don't gamble with your life's work or your family's future. GrieveCivilLaw.com, because tomorrow isn't guaranteed.
Tune in every Sunday morning at 10 a.m. as Ellen Becker Investment Group highlights local people and organizations who are using their time and their talents to give back to make a difference in our community. Milwaukee's philanthropic community. Visit ellenbecker.com to learn more.
Hi, I'm Tom Detlich with Grandview Homes. As I'm sure you know, life is full of surprises. But at Grandview Homes, our goal is to make sure selling a home isn't one of them. We understand that selling an inherited home, downsizing, or relocating could be a lot to deal with. That's why we buy every home completely as is. No repairs, no waiting, no stress. We'll buy your home on your schedule, treating you with the respect you deserve during this transitional period. Our process is simple. We'll visit your home, give you a fair offer, and then close on your timeline, not ours. That's why our offers don't expire, as long as your home and the market stay the same. At Grandview Homes, we believe selling your home should be simple, even when life feels complicated. Whether you have a family home, condo, or rental property in Greater Milwaukee, we're here to help you sell confidently and on your timeline. Grandview Homes, the fastest and easiest way to sell your home. Get your no-obligation offer at grandviewhomes.com today.
Your home cleaning friend, it's Edelman again.
Welcome back to the Dan O'Donnell Show. Coming up after the top of the hour news, we will get you the daily Trump date drama as the guilty verdict is read against President Trump's second would-be assassin, Ryan Ruth, in federal court today, plus President Trump's big speech to the United Nations. We will get to all of that, folks. I will also try to get the unhinged liberal of the day. We'll also try to weigh in on Jimmy Kimmel's return. Apparently, fascism isn't nearly as strong as we all thought it was. It wasn't nearly the great threat to free speech that we all presumed it to be, because the single worst victim of government suppression of speech, according to no less an authority than Jake Tapper, lasted all of about 5 days. Yeah, 5 days. What did I tell you, folks, all last week? Do not believe the left. Jimmy Kimmel has not been fired. If he was fired, there would have been a press release by Disney. There would have been a statement by Kimmel. And these sorts of contracts are not nearly as easily gotten out of as I think Disney would hope. That said, this is almost certainly Jimmy Kimmel's last contract. He's now going to be going back on the air tonight without 35% of his ABC stations, because Nexstar has now joined the Sinclair Broadcast Group in refusing to air the Jimmy Kimmel Show tonight. We'll get into all of that coming up in the 5 o'clock hour. But first, your reactions to Congressman Tom Tiffany getting in this race. I just saw the Wisconsin college Republicans have just endorsed him. I would imagine there are going to be a lot of endorsements that are coming Tiffany's way. The one big one, though, is one he kind of surprisingly didn't get, and that's President Trump's endorsement. Now, what I will say is that Trump is very concerned about the possibility that Republicans lose the House. Again, It's too early to tell what the impact of the assassination of Charlie Kirk is going to be on all of this, if at all. I think the impact of Charlie Kirk's assassination is going to go well beyond one midterm election, one election cycle. I think this is going to be a generational change, and it's going to make the Generation Z and younger millennial generation, even Generation Alpha, the kids who are now, 13, 14 years old, this may well be their first memory of politics in America, was Charlie Kirk getting assassinated. I don't think people our age and older can fully contemplate just what a big event this was. Trump is very concerned about losing the House. And I think he's also concerned about whether or not Tiffany is a viable candidate. Is Wisconsin even a winnable state for Republicans anymore? That's a legitimate question. I believe it is. I will always believe it is, but we shall see. Coming up after the top of the hour, the Daily Trump Date, a fiery Trump speech at the UN, and fireworks as his would-be assassin is found guilty on all charges. Dan O'Donnell Show coming right back.
All programs on News Talk 1130 WISN are broadcast through the NX Wealth Management Studios. NX Wealth Management. Know the difference. Listen to Clay and Buck weekdays 11 to 2 on News Talk 1130 WISN Milwaukee. And make WISN the #1 preset on your car radio and on the new iHeart app. Free never sounded so good.
Good afternoon. I'm Sean Maloney. President Trump has canceled this week's planned meeting with congressional Democratic leaders, refusing to negotiate over their demands to shore up healthcare funds as part of a deal to prevent a potential looming federal government shutdown. 7th Congressional District Representative Tom Tiffany has announced he plans to run for governor next year. The Republican made the announcement on WISN's Dan O'Donnell Show this afternoon. He joins a growing list of Republican candidates that features Milwaukee area businessman Brian Berrien and Washington County Executive Josh Schoeman. Wisconsin residents are being urged to turn off non-essential lights from 11 p.m. Wednesday to 6 a.m. Thursday to help migrating birds. Bird conservation groups say roughly 21 million birds will be migrating through the state. Checking the holiday automotive Fond du Lac Sports scoreboard. The kickoff time for the Badgers Week 6 tilt against Michigan has been scheduled for 11 a.m. From the Orthopedic Associates of Wisconsin News Center, I'm Sean Maloney on Wisconsin's most listened to radio station, News Talk 1130 WISN.
Here's the latest forecast presented by AdventKnows.com from the Fox 6 weather experts.
Quiet tonight with some patchy fog overnight. Temperatures dropping through the 60s and settling in the 50s by morning. Mostly cloudy, breezy, and cool on Wednesday. A slight chance for a rain shower and highs in the mid to upper 60s. I'm Fox 6 Chief Meteorologist Tom Walks.
This report is sponsored by Rapid Radios.
Stay connected and stay productive with Rapid Radios. Business owners trust Rapid Radios for instant, reliable team communication with nationwide LTE coverage, push-to-talk convenience, and room for up to 200 units on one feed. Keeping connected's never been easier. Order now at rapidradios.com.
iHeartRadio is the easy-to-use app for music and radio. Download the free iHeartRadio app today.
Hi, I'm Willa Voss. I'm 8 years old. Mom and Dad own Cut and Go Tree Service. Yes, they did name me after a tree. Our family loves this country and the freedom it provides. Every morning, I look forward to starting the school day with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please say it along with me, even if you just say it in your mind. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. American patriots will enjoy a 5% discount for flying the American flag and mentioning this commercial when the Cut and Go remote control, automobile mounted, articulated crane, grapple saw operators are putting your dead trees on the ground or removing large branches that grew over something important. An all-American Tons of Trees movement, cutandgotrees.com. That's CUTNGOTREES.com.
I'm Thomas Rozecki at Central Office Systems. Implementing technology diligence saves businesses money, making technology profitable.
Chris Rozecki here. Seamlessly reliable technology is a competitive advantage for your business operations.
Flawlessly integrated IT, phone, email, software, data storage, data security backed by Central Office's North American Help Desk is smart business operations.
Central Office IT support support answers your employees' calls in 1 minute. If your issue can't be resolved immediately by phone, Central Office dispatches live local technical experts.
Central Office IT Managed Services secure your information, technology, and data. Our camera systems clearly document faces, read license plates, send alerts when movement, heat, or smoke are viewed.
Central Office smart camera systems combined with individual entry access from HID card, key fob, or smartphones limited to certain days or time periods secure your property.
Your company can afford Fortune 500 class IT systems service and support with Central Office.
Converting IT risk and liability into assets, centralofficesystems.com.
Allie Dwyer and her 3 sons lost their hero, Stephen. Serving our country in the United States Army was Stephen's calling, and flying helicopters was his passion. Stephen was killed in a Black Hawk helicopter crash over the Mediterranean Sea. Thanks to friends like you, Tunnel to Towers provided his family with a mortgage-free home, giving them security and hope in their darkest hours. Help more families like the Dwyers. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org. That's T2T.org.
You're great at protecting your data, but lots of places could still expose you to identity theft. If that happens, LifeLock gives you the U.S.-based restoration agent who will stick by your side from start to finish. Phone calls, filing documentation, preparing insurance claims. Your agent handles it all. In fact, they're so confident restoration is guaranteed or your money back. It's nice to have an expert like that on your side. Save up to 40% off your first year with promo code Beck at LifeLock.com. That's LifeLock.com. Terms apply.
BlueMountainExpress.com. We will improve your move.
Statewide. Kowal Investment Group, now Creative Planning, is a registered investment advisor. Now for your business report from Creative Planning. For informational purposes only, past performance is not indicative of future results.
Good afternoon. This is Tom Krieger with your afternoon business report. Major averages moved lower today, taking a pause from a record-setting streak as Fed Chair Jerome Powell signaled the rate cut path wasn't clear, noting that the central bank would proceed cautiously on further rate cuts and suggested that equities were highly valued. Elsewhere, shares of Boeing rose 2% after Bloomberg reports that the U.S. ambassador to China said the U.S. and China are in final stages of a huge deal for Boeing aircraft. At the close, the Dow was down 88, S&P 500 down 36, and the NASDAQ down 215. From Creative Planning, I'm Tom Krieger.
Hour number 3 underway here on the Dan O'Donnell Show after we broke one of the biggest political stories in Wisconsin in quite some time. Certainly one of the biggest news stories this gubernatorial election cycle. That is that Congressman Tom Tiffany announced on this show and spent the entire first hour talking with us about his run for governor. As soon as the program is over this evening, in about 53 minutes, we will get to work cutting up clips of Congressman Tom Tiffany making the announcement, outlining his vision for Wisconsin, and much, much more. Big day nationally, as the left is still trying to convince you that Jimmy Kimmel, who is back tonight after a 4-day suspension, is the biggest free speech martyr in the history of the First Amendment. This is remarkably rich, given the fact that Charlie Kirk just died. He was assassinated because he was speaking out about politics. We will get to that later on this hour. Jake Tapper just completely made a fool out of himself regarding all of this stuff, but we will get to all of that in just a second. We also welcome your phone calls, your texts, 414-799-1130 or 1-800-838-9476. Emails to dod@iheartmedia.com, at Dan O'Donnell Show on X, on Facebook, on Instagram. Watch the show streaming live on YouTube. Subscribe to our podcast on iHeartRadio. Let's get to it. It's time now for the Daily Trump Day.
We're going to win so much, you may even get tired of winning.
Trump just keeps winning.
It is a win for the administration.
It's also a big win for the United States.
We have to keep winning. We have to win more. We're going to win more.
It was a shocking day, not the verdict, in the trial of Ryan Ruth, who was accused and charged with attempting to kill President Trump as Trump golfed on one of his courses down in Florida 6 weeks after he very narrowly escaped assassination in Butler, Pennsylvania, after the expected guilty verdicts were read. According to Fox News producers who were in the courtroom, Ruth attempted to stab himself in the neck with a pen.
Now, it's quite shocking. As the verdict was read, it appeared to our producers inside the courtroom that Ruth tried to stab himself in the neck with a pen. That's what it appeared to look like. Then 4 marshals dragged him out of the courtroom, took his coat off. They then shackled him at the waist and ankles, and then they brought him back into the courtroom. So again, this just in from our producers, as the verdict was being read, Ruth tried to hurt himself in the neck with a pen. Now we just saw that emotional reaction from that daughter, and now we know exactly why. So when Ruth was brought back into the courtroom, that's when her daughter stood up, started yelling and screaming. She said to her father, "Don't do anything. I'm going to get you out of here." This is what our producers are telling us just into the newsroom. She also screamed many expletives, and that's when we saw her run out of the courtroom. The video that we were seeing just moments ago of her not wanting to speak with the media.
Yeah, it seems like the daughter is nearly as nutso as this guy was. He was very anti-Trump. He fancied himself a soldier of fortune and even fought for the Ukrainian military in the war over there. He was clearly motivated by left-wing politics. So this is yet another example of left-wing political violence that the media is just going to conveniently ignore. President Trump, though, did not. He reflected on the guilty verdict this afternoon.
I'm very appreciative of the justice that was given and the way it was handled by Pam Bondi and Todd Blanche and everybody that it's been, and their team of people. It was really well handled, and it's very important. You can't let things like that happen. Nothing to do with me, but a president or even a person. You can't allow that to happen. And so justice was served, and we'll see what happens. But I very much appreciate the judge and jury and everybody on that. It was so professionally handled.
Earlier today, President Trump in New York talking to the General Assembly of the United Nations. As soon as he stepped on an escalator today, it stopped working. As soon as he started to speak, his teleprompter went out. In spite of that, he gave a 55-minute address this morning that I don't think the delegates to the UN were quite prepared for. Taking them on directly and saying right to their faces that they are causing more problems than they're solving.
The best example is the number one political issue of our time, the crisis of uncontrolled migration. It's uncontrolled. Your countries are being ruined. The United Nations is funding an assault on Western countries and their borders. In 2024, the UN budgeted $372 million in cash assistance to support an estimated 624,000 migrants journeying into the United States. Think of that. The UN is supporting people that are illegally coming into the United States, and then we have to get them out. The UN also provided food, shelter, transportation, and debit cards to illegal aliens. Can you believe that? On the way to infiltrate our southern border. Millions of people came through that southern border. Just a year ago, millions and millions of people were pouring in, 25 million altogether over the 4 years of the incompetent Biden administration. And now we have it stopped, totally stopped. In fact, they're not even coming anymore because they know they can't get through. But what took place is totally unacceptable. The UN is supposed to stop invasions, not create them and not finance them.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is your daily Trump date. The president is absolutely right. The United Nations has proven itself to be just a devious organization when it comes to the resettlement of illegal immigrants, knowing full well what massive problems they made for the United States. None of this, folks, and I think the ease with which President Trump and his administration were able to shut down the southern border should prove that all of this was intentional. The Biden administration, I have long believed, saw the writing on the demographic wall coming up after the 2030 census, when it's estimated that Texas and Florida are going to gain 4 congressional seats and thus 4 electoral votes apiece. California is going to lose 4. New York is going to lose 3. Illinois likely to lose 2. Other blue states like Minnesota, possibly Wisconsin, are going to lose representation, and states like Wyoming, Georgia, North Carolina, all red states, reliably red statewide voting states, they're all gaining population. In fact, a lot of people who are following redistricting are convinced that in 2032, not 2028, everybody's geared up already for the 2028 presidential election. What is it going to be? J.D. Vance and Marco Rubio against Gavin Newsom and AOC? Man, I'd pay to watch that one. Hey, I'm going to live it in a couple of years. 2032 might be an election in which Republicans can win the White House without having to win a single one of the blue wall states of Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin, which over the past decade plus have been a necessity for any Republican to win. Every configuration of electoral math goes through the upper Midwest. Not only that, Pennsylvania is steadily getting redder and redder and redder, as are Texas and Florida. So what was the Biden administration doing with all of the illegal immigrants that were coming in? They were trying to make them legal, or at least give them temporary protected status, and then shuttling them to states so that they wouldn't lose as much population as they otherwise would. Even if immigrants, legal or otherwise, never cast a single ballot in a single election in this country, they can impact politics tremendously just by being there if they're counted in the census. Now, not only that, in the 2020 census, the Census Bureau admitted that it messed up. It undercounted Black and Hispanic residents, people who live in given states, and red states were probably screwed out of at least 3 or 4 congressional seats. Certainly, Texas, I believe, was 140 some people away from getting an extra congressional seat. So President Trump in recent months has been openly floating a census do-over, which of course the left has been freaking out about as yet another example of a horrendous abuse of power, which in fact it's not. Theoretically, you can actually redistrict mid-decade, and a number of conservative states led by Texas are going to do so. Boy, it's funny how quickly that issue died, isn't it? Even Gavin Newsom isn't talking about it anymore because California is constitutionally barred from mid-decade redistricting. Texas is saying, hey, wait a second. We got screwed by the 2020 census, and we are going to redistrict. And you know what? Frankly, since Democrats have had no problem with gerrymandering every state they control beyond recognition, I'm totally fine with that. And one of the big tools of their trade has been illegal immigration. The plan has always been to get as many people into the United States as possible, into these Western countries as possible, get them naturalized, get them, even if they're not citizens, even if they're not allowed to vote, their children and their grandchildren are. And the thinking has long been that they'll get them hooked on government benefits, convinced that the racist, bigoted, xenophobic Republicans or conservative parties in various European countries hate them, despise them, want them out, and therefore they'll vote for Democrats or they'll vote for liberal parties for generations to come. They wrote books about this. Yet when you point this out, this is supposed to be the most racist conspiracy theory of all, the great replacement theory. It has nothing to do with replacement. It has everything to do with, I'll coin this now, it's the great dilution theory. It's not the great replacement theory. They want to dilute the votes of conservatives and Republicans by bringing in a brand new voter base. One of the biggest problems for Democrats has been the rapid, and I mean rapid rightward push of especially Hispanics, but also African-American men. And it's being pushed along by the exact same thing that is pushing so many young white males away from the Democratic Party, and that's that the Democratic Party is certifiably insane. Case in point, their remarkable attempts to try to make Jimmy Kimmel into a First Amendment martyr. We'll get into that in just a second when the Dan O'Donnell Show returns in just 3 minutes.
From the Lynch Buick GMC of West Bend Total Traffic Center.
Crews with an injury accident on Silver Spring east of 27th. 94 eastbound going to be jammed from Highway 100 to past the stadium. Got westbound delays from 16th to Mitchell Boulevard, then Highway 100 to Moreland. I'm Kevin Henry. That's your latest total traffic.
This report is sponsored by the Harlem Globetrotters. This isn't just a game. It's a once-in-a-generation event. The Harlem Globetrotters 100-year tour. Come be a part of a legacy that never stops. Be there when history is made. The Harlem Globetrotters 100-year tour. Get your tickets today at harlemglobetrotters.com.
iHeartRadio brings you Global Citizen Festival 2025 from New York City at Central Park's Great Lawn. Live performances from Shakira, Cardi B, Tyla, Ira Starr, Mariah the Scientist, Camilo, and many more. All hosted by Hugh Jackman. Join the movement changing the world at globalcitizenfestival.com. Hear the entire festival live all day this Saturday on the free iHeart app's Global Citizen Radio and on Hit Nation at 10 p.m. Eastern.
This time of year can be tough on a number of areas in your home. This is Dan O'Donnell, and if you're struggling with any electrical issues, I recommend the superheroes at Current Electric. Chuck Smith, a Brookfield Central grad, started Current Electric over 40 years ago. His mission was to serve our community with integrity and quality, and has done that at Current Electric. If you need something as small as an outlet or switch repair or a whole home rewiring, call on the superheroes from Current Electric. Go to callcurrent.com. Hey, it's Dan. Join me in asking Annex Wealth Management the hard questions about financial planning, the economy, and your money this Wednesday, September 24th. It's a live webinar from the Annex Wealth Management Studios at 11 a.m. Whether it's quarterly earnings, digital currency, whatever is on your mind, CEO Dave Spano and Chief Economist Brian Jacobson will be there to answer your questions. Visit annexwealth.com for more information and to register.
For superior carpet cleaning, hire a company with over 75 years of experience that will get the job done right the first time. Always clean, always on time. Edelman.
Edelman Carpet Furniture and Drapery Cleaning.
It's Edelman again. Edelman.
Hey, Dan O'Donnell for Mander Collision and Glass, now with 7 locations to serve you across the greater Milwaukee area. Start your repair right now at mandercollision.com. Mander truly is the best decision after a collision.
Make News Talk 1130 WISN your number one preset on our free iHeartRadio app. Powered by Gruber Law.
One call, that's all.
Injured?
Remember, one call, that's all.
The most accurate, complete news about Milwaukee. Every hour, every day.
This is News Talk 1130 WISN. Classical conservatism. Contemporary style. This is the Dan O'Donnell Show.
You know, one thing that you'll notice about media types is that they absolutely hate when you call them out for being hacks. It is very rare that you actually get a journalist to say, yes, I am a hack. But that's just what happened about a half hour ago. Now, I opened up the 4 o'clock hour kind of laughing about the fact that the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel just utterly refused to give me any credit for breaking the story that the Dan O'Donnell show is where Congressman Tom Tiffany announced that he was going to be running for governor. And I said, remember producer Dave, I said he thought he knows this guy knows me too well. Producer Dave does. We've been working together for a long time. We may have been separated, but a love like ours knows no bounds. It's sort of like Bill Berrien and all of the transgender medium bloggers that he follows. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. I promised I wasn't going to do any more Bill Berrien transgender medium post jokes. Okay, I guess, yeah, you're right, Dave. You're right. It is a new hour. That was my one. I'm giving myself one per hour. You said I was distracted. I said what? That I was checking to see if the Journal-Sentinel stealth edited their piece. Not only did they self-edit their piece, stealth edit their piece, I should say. What stealth editing means is once a newspaper or a journalist is called out for something that's just incorrect, they don't do an editor's note when they change a story. They just quietly edit it and pretend like nothing happened. They did it. They freaking did it. The article's author, Lawrence Andrea, actually responded very snarkily to me with a section of his story that he highlighted and said, Tiffany said in a statement after publicly announcing his bid on the Dan O'Donnell show Tuesday. Unfortunately for Mr. Andrea, who responded to my tweet, quote, this has been in the story. Plus, we got the info before your show went live. I'm sure you've heard of an embargo. Dan, there was actually not an embargo, but nonetheless, guess what Lawrence Andrea highlighted? A stealth-edited piece of his article. Unfortunately for him, I actually searched for the keyword O'Donnell just to make sure that they didn't give me any credit. And just to see if, Dave, yes, they were going to stealth edit later after I called them out. Lawrence Andrea just admitted very publicly that he is a hack, that the story was stealth edited. What is with these people? Did I not say an hour ago they were going to stealth edit it so that they could snarkily come back at Dan O'Donnell and say, oh, look, Dan O'Donnell's lying, just like Governor Evers. Oh, look, Dan O'Donnell's sources were wrong. He didn't actually announce his retirement on the 17th. He announced on the 24th. They moved the governor's retirement announcement just so that I would be wrong. Now we've got the self-styled newspaper of record of the state of Wisconsin changing their reporting just so they can pretend that I am lying about them not giving me the credit. Is this a big deal? No, it's not, but it does show you just how dishonest a reporter Lawrence Andrea is, does it not? If he was going to sneak this in, that Tiffany said in a statement after publicly announcing on the Dan O'Donnell show, something as minor, something as trivial as this, who cares where Tom Tiffany announces? Yeah, okay, it's a nice get for me. I'd like to have the credit for it, but ultimately, everybody knew he was going to get into the race. Everybody knew that he was going to be running for governor. It's not a big surprise. Everybody thought he was going to be announcing tomorrow at a big event that he had planned in Wausau. Instead, He makes the surprise announcement today on my show. But if Lawrence Andrea and the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel are willing to lie to you, to just flat up lie to you about something like that, something that doesn't really affect politics, something that doesn't really affect your life at all. Hell, I'm the guy who didn't get the credit, barely affects my life at all. I'm going to probably forget all about this 15 minutes after the show is over. But if they're willing to lie about that, what else are they willing to lie about? Which brings us to Jimmy Kimmel. Jimmy Kimmel lied, flat out lied. He wasn't telling a joke. He wasn't doing a setup to a joke. He lied about the killer of Charlie Kirk, one of the most prominent conservatives in America, being a conservative on his show. Every single reporter freaked out and then lied about Kimmel's lie, saying that Jimmy Kimmel had been fired because the FCC commissioner, Brendan Carr, clearly acting at the behest of Donald Trump, would not allow the king to be joked about. No kings, I believe, was a series of protests this summer. And yet we now have a king. This was the greatest assault on free speech ever. And it turns out that Jimmy Kimmel was just suspended for 4 days. One of the most hilarious reactions has to be from poor Jake Tapper. Jake Tapper went on the Late Late Show, or Late Night, one of the after late night shows, hosted by Seth Meyers on NBC. I guess that's Late Night with Seth Meyers. That was the show that was first started by David Letterman. It followed The Tonight Show, and now it's hosted by Seth Meyers. That show is clearly not done live because on the East Coast, it airs at something like 12:35 a.m. It was recorded before ABC announced that Jimmy Kimmel was going to be back on the air tonight. That, in fact, he was just going to serve, I don't even know if it was a suspension. I could actually hear the argument and understand the argument that ABC pulled Kimmel off to save him from himself, to save him from his baser instincts, to make the situation a whole lot worse than it already is. Tapper goes on the Seth Meyers show. This is clearly before ABC announced that Kimmel is back on, and just flat out lies about what happened, pretending that ABC canceled the Kimmel show because the FCC commissioner, Brendan Carr, ordered a local ABC affiliate station owner called Nexstar to pull Kimmel off the air, and that was the worst First Amendment violation of all time.
I mean, I thought it was pretty much the most direct infringement by the government on free speech that I've seen in my lifetime.
Yeah.
You have Networks are allowed to cancel shows. It happens all the time. But this was the FCC chairman saying, local affiliates, it's time for you to say you're not going to air Kimmel anymore. And then Nexstar, with the largest owner of local affiliates, needs approval from Brendan Carr himself to let this merger go through. Yes, sir. How high do you want me to jump, sir? They do it, and it's just insane.
Okay, I have no idea when that segment, that interview was taped for the Late Show that aired last night. But I know it was before ABC announced that, oh yeah, Jimmy Kimmel's going to be back. It was just, he was put in timeout for 5 days. He missed a grand total of, I think, 4 shows. But no. According to Jake Tapper, who, by the way, is now just, do we have celebrities that do these late night comedy shows anymore? Or is it just left-wing media pundits, news anchors, and politicians? Is that they wonder why the medium is dying? It might have something to do with the fact that you've got the state attorney general from New Hampshire on as your big guest instead of Brad Pitt. But Kimmel was still pushing this narrative that Kimmel had lost his job, that he was never going to come back, that Nexstar made sure of it. And by the way, Nexstar is not going to air the Jimmy Kimmel show, nor is Sinclair. Sinclair, to my knowledge, has no favors or mergers that it needs approved from the FCC. So it is motivated only by the fact that its management, its viewers, its stations were offended by what Jimmy Kimmel said. And frankly, his show is probably a ratings loser, and they do a whole lot better by extending the local news instead of airing his ratings pit of a show. But the point is that even when the facts get in the way of the narrative, they're still pushing the narrative. They're still lying about what is. They're still lying about things that are objectively not true. This is why I still cannot get that quote from Orwell's 1984 out of my head. The party told you to reject the evidence of your eyes and ears. It was their final, most essential command. You're listening to the Dan O'Donnell Show. Back in just a sec.
Now, here's traffic from Tri-City National Bank, your hometown bank. Call the Tri-City Total Traffic Tip Line at 414-944-5111.
Southbound 4145, slow from Appleton down to Capitol. 894 southbound slowing from the Zoo to Lincoln, and again from Beloit to the Hale interchange. Westbound 894 jam from Forest Home to the Hale. I'm Kevin Henry. That's your latest total traffic.
This report is sponsored by Rapid Radios.
Stay connected and stay productive with Rapid Radios. Business owners trust Rapid Radios for instant, reliable team communication with nationwide LTE coverage, push-to-talk convenience, and room for up to 200 units on one feed. Keeping connected's never been easier. Order now at rapidradios.com.
For many of us, the most important part of our routine between 6 and 9 weekday mornings is to listen to every minute of the Jay Weber Show on WISN. Sadly, sometimes less important elements of our lives get in the way, such as work, children, and bathing. Don't despair. The Jay Weber Show podcast is available 24/7 to fill any gaps in your hunger for entertainment. Just go to newstalk1130.com, click the podcast tab, and enjoy Jay Weber on demand.
Find fresh this fall at the Oak Creek Farmers Market. Every Saturday in Drexel Town Square. Shop local produce, baked goods, cheeses, and more. Eat well, live well. Shop local. Visit oakcreekfarmersmarket.com.
Dan O'Donnell here, cordially inviting you to our next European getaway in Prague, the enchanting capital of the Czech Republic, this April. We'll explore the world's largest ancient castle, tour a medieval village, and even take in an authentic Czech festival inside a castle. My friends at Cruise and Tour handle all the details and make it as easy and fun as possible, but space is extremely limited, so book your spot today at cruise-tour.com. Dan O'Donnell here. It is this week with Annex Wealth Management. I am joined, as I am every week, by the CEO of Annex, Dave Spano. And Dave, we finally at long last have our interest rate cut from the Fed. So I guess the question is, now what?
Yeah, exactly. So we have the change in policy, and the change in policy is now rate cuts. We expect some more probably as soon as next month as well. So you see all of these fiscal changes. We know about the Fed changing policy, probably going to see a couple of more cuts. We know about all the tariff revenue coming in and the new tax bill. So you think the market would celebrate, and it really has, especially as we go into the last quarter of the year. Year end is generally a good time of the year, but you have to offset that, Dan, with all the stuff on the other side of the ledger, and that is a potential U.S. government shutdown. That is in front of us. We'll see where this is going to go. You see that Russia is really tempting those NATO lines, as well as the policy that's in front of us. What does it do? It's, let's just call it fluent. The policy is changing pretty often, but the market is reacting. The Dow over 46,000 right now and continuing to head north, at least for the moment. Dan, this is the reason why people have all of these changes in their portfolios. They have to make sure it is lined up with what is reality, your tax plan, your estate plan, your financial plan, and of course, your investment plan.
We've got our rate cut, but admittedly, we don't exactly know what's coming next. Possibly more rate cuts, probably. We're not entirely sure, and that's kind of the thing. The world is full of uncertainty, the financial world even more so, and that's why you need to know what you own and why you own it. Head to annexwealth.com. For Dave Spano, I'm Dan O'Donnell. This has been This Week with Annex Wealth Management.
I'm Total Health's Jay Johnson, The Falls and New Berlin. Seed oils, the number one source of calories in American diets, developed as engine fuel in industrial lubricants, only ended up in the food supply for profit. Seed oils cause arthritis, heart disease, metabolic syndrome, stroke, type 2 diabetes, obesity, cardiovascular disease, high blood pressure, and chronic illness. Medical doctors prescribe dozens of pharmaceuticals for life to treat symptoms of those diseases. Why don't they tell you to stop consuming poison? I'll tell you why. You sick is profitable. At Total Health, we teach eliminating seed oils from your diet improves true health and how you feel. Total Health finds the root cause of your fatigue, weight gain, brain fog, sleeplessness, then works with you, the whole you, eliminating symptoms and the chronic disease causing those symptoms. It's not theory. Relativity equals expertise plus execution is true. Total Health's holistic practitioners utilize proven science to help you feel and truly be the most helpful and well you. TotalHealthInc.com. That's TotalHealthInc.com.
You got to get to Built Right today. Dan here for my amazing friends at Built Right Furniture. Built Right's 97th anniversary celebration plus their $1 million clearance sell-off are on now. It's the best time to refresh your home locally. Built Right has the most experienced team and the best selection of affordable, better quality furniture and mattresses. 4 generations, 97 years strong. Built Right's one location saves you money. Tell them Dan sent you to Built Right at 54th and Layton in Greenfield.
Injured? Call Gruber Law.
One call, that's all.
Go get it. The new season of the NFL lives on iHeartRadio. Local stations bring you the action live.
Touchdown, Tampa Bay.
Plus, fantasy advice and expert analysis with the official NFL Podcast Network.
A strip sack, a walk recovery.
Everything you love about football is on the iHeartRadio app.
Throws to the end zone. Caught, beat it, touchdown, Chargers.
Search NFL to dive in.
Conservative thought, not just talk. It is the Dan O'Donnell Show. Welcome back to it. I don't think I've ever seen a self-own quite like Lawrence Andrea's, in which he just posted evidence that he stealth-edited a piece in order to pretend that the Journal-Sentinel gave me credit, not knowing most likely that I had just done a big bit on the air after I had searched for my name. And I actually looked at the exact quote that he pointed to that said, after he first told Dan O'Donnell, announced it publicly, whatever, I could tell that was added because I immediately looked for that quote. The Tiffany team put out a press release.
From the Lynch GM Supers.
Why is stuff firing randomly here? Can we not have that happen? Thank you. After I published, or after I looked at this, I looked at the quote to say, hey, wait a second, that quote didn't come from my show. He added the reference to Dan O'Donnell. This is exactly what I'm talking about when I talk about the dishonesty among members of the mainstream press, all in service to a narrative. Now, Lawrence Andrea's narrative is just, let's not give credit to that right-wing bigot, if at all possible. But it does make you question if he's going to be dishonest about something like that and just slip in a stealth edit to try to prove me wrong. What else is he going to be dishonest about? How about, for example, that the Jimmy Kimmel 3-4-day suspension was the worst attack on free speech in our nation's history? This presupposes people are idiots and don't remember 2021 and 2022 when the Biden administration was putting pressure on every single social media company not to put out information and not to allow everyday people like you and me to put out information that contradicted the government's preferred narrative, i.e., masks work. Vaccines stop the spread of COVID. The 2020 election was the cleanest ever run in the history of elections. I myself got suspended for, weeks on end, months on end. I actually stopped broadcasting on YouTube. I stopped doing live stream. I actually turned off the Dano Cam for years because I would have on Ron Johnson, and Ron Johnson would say something about COVID vaccines. I would have on Rebecca Clayfish. Back when Clayfish was running for governor, I remember this clearly. She said, look, there are issues regarding the 2020 presidential election in Wisconsin, the way it was run, especially in Green Bay. All of this was proven. All of this was true. But I got suspended. In spite of the fact that these were an elected official, a senator of a state, and someone who very well could have been the next governor of the state, talking to their constituents, YouTube just shut us down. I think I was at one point one strike away from having my account permanently banned. Permanently banned. I believe I got a suspension for saying something to the effect of the vaccine clearly doesn't stop the spread of COVID and the Omicron variant proves it. I actually went back and forth. I can't even believe I got an email of a real human being and went back and forth with this woman. At least I thought it was a woman. It might have been an AI to try to argue my case. Didn't matter. I was suspended for something like a month or 2 months. Next strike, next suspension was going to be permanent. I just said, you know what? It's not even worth it. I'm just going to shut down the Dano Cam. We didn't bring it back for years. Now we learn that Google, the owner of YouTube, has admitted to the House Judiciary Committee the following. The Biden administration pressured Google to censor Americans and remove content that did not violate YouTube's policies. Instead, it was merely content that the Biden administration, i.e. the government, didn't want published. Google admitted that the Biden administration's censorship program was unacceptable and wrong, that public debate should never come at the expense of relying on authorities. The company pledged to never again use third-party fact checkers, and that Europe's censorship laws have been targeting American companies and threatening American speech, which included the removal of lawful content. YouTube has also pledged to reinstate accounts that were permanently suspended or banned, even though they were not doing material, they were not producing content that violated the terms of service. That's actual censorship, folks. And it wasn't limited to YouTube. Remember when Mark Zuckerberg, the CEO of Facebook's parent company, Meta, made this stunning admission on the Joe Rogan show some years ago?
These people from the Biden administration would call up our team and like scream at them and curse, and it's like these documents it's all kind of out there.
Did you record any of those phone calls?
I don't think we were, but I think
I want to listen.
I mean, there are emails. the emails are published. It's all kind of out there, and they're like, and basically it just got to this point where we were like, no, we're not gonna take down things that are true, that's ridiculous. They want us to take down this meme of Leonardo DiCaprio looking at a TV talking about how 10 years from now or something, you're going to see an ad that says, okay, if you took a COVID vaccine, you're eligible for, for this kind of payment, like this sort of like class action lawsuit type meme. And they're like, no, you have to take that down. And we just said, no, we're not going to take down humor and satire. We're not going to take down things that are true. And then at some point, I guess, I don't know, it flipped a bit. I mean, Biden, when he gave some statement at some point, I don't know if it was a press conference or to some journalists, where he basically was like, these guys are killing people. And I don't know, then like all these different agencies and branches of government basically just like started investigating, coming after our company. It was brutal. It was brutal.
That is a violation of the First Amendment. That, in fact, was very likely the single worst violation of the First Amendment in America's history. It was certainly the biggest by volume. The government was infringing not just on Jimmy Kimmel's First Amendment rights, which it clearly was not in this case. ABC suspended Kimmel or took him off the air because he was going to say something even worse the next night than he did in the monologue that first drew all of the public scrutiny and criticism of him. What the government was doing under the Biden administration is very clearly prohibited by the First Amendment. The government is not allowed to put pressure on companies to do something that would infringe on citizens' First Amendment rights. In other words, the government can't threaten, coerce, or pressure private companies. The private companies then do the bidding of the government, and then the government says, oh, look, it wasn't us. It wasn't us. It was Facebook. It was YouTube. Now, of course, people like Jake Tapper are saying, well, Brendan Carr, the FCC commissioner, did exactly that, Dan. He said to Nexstar and to Sinclair, hey, you don't have to air these network programs, implying that to be a threat. No, Carr was very clear about what he said on the Benny Johnson show. He said, look, we want to empower these local broadcasters. Sinclair and Nexstar are very conservative companies. They don't, Carr was saying, necessarily have to air liberal pap that their audiences in very conservative communities where these ABC stations that they own are located clearly don't want to watch. What would, say, Louisville, Kentucky be better served by? If the people who watch that particular ABC station are overwhelmingly conservative, would it be better served by Jimmy Kimmel and his cavalcade of Democrat guests and his monologues and skits and bits and jokes that all target the rubes in flyover country? Or could they air another hour of local news or maybe a pre-produced local talk show, take 100% of the advertising revenue that they would have otherwise had to split with the network and produce programming that their people might actually want to see? That's what Brendan Carr was saying. The Biden administration was going to social media, it was going to YouTube, it was going to Facebook, it was going to Twitter and saying, boy, you better crack down on this because this goes against the message that we, the government, want out there. And if you don't, boy, you're going to face some stiff regulations. Mark Zuckerberg, in that clip you just heard with Rogan, was talking about overt threats made by members of the Biden administration. Honestly, if you can't see the difference between what was going on just a few short years ago and what happened with Jimmy Kimmel getting put in timeout, you might honestly be too dumb to even have an intelligent conversation with. Dan O'Donnell Show coming back after this.
From the Lynch GM Superstore in Burlington Total Traffic Center.
Stopping and going eastbound 94 before Highway 100 to pass the Stadium interchange onto 43 northbound from the Marquette up to Center. Got southbound delays from Keefe down to the Marquette and westbound 94 to Hawley. I'm Kevin Henry. That's your latest Total Traffic.
This report is sponsored by Wendy's. Get 2 #1 selling bacon cheeseburgers and fast food. Wendy's JBC, plus medium fries and soft drink for just $8. Total game changer. Order today, limited time only. Price and participation may vary. Request $8 JBC meal deal to obtain discount. Claim per independent marketing research company.
The only agent I trust here in Milwaukee is Justin Hoffman with RE/MAX Lakeside. Hey, your friend Sean Hannity here. When you listen to my show, you know I'm very cautious about the stock market, and I prefer bricks and mortar. I prefer real estate. I have the inside track on what's happening in Washington. So what does that mean for you? I'm pretty confident the best days of our economy will be ahead of us, and the real estate market is going to get busier and busier. Now, no matter the reason that you need to make your move, you need talent, you need tools to get your home sold and get on to your next chapter. If you're trying to sell your home and have been trying for months and you're tired of looking at the same for sale sign in your front yard, now is the time to make a friend in real estate that can help turn your challenge into a solution. Now, choose who I trust to create the most demand. Just go to wihomeeval.com. That's wihomeeval.com. Or just Google Team Hoffman and check out over 700 five-star reviews. And then make your move today.
Only one app puts the live radio dial in your pocket
and lets you save your favorite stations, playlists, and podcasts as presets.
iHeartRadio is your all-access pass to the audio that moves you.
Get what millions already have. The free iHeartRadio app.
The #1 app for radio.
Life is full of surprises. But at Grandview Homes, our goal is to make sure selling a home isn't one of them. That's why we buy every home completely as is, no repairs, no waiting, no stress. Get your no-obligation offer at grandviewhomes.com today.
I'm Dave Brownsdorf, president of Flawless Flooring. It's true, there's nothing quite like the scent of freshly steam-cleaned, worn carpet other than a wet dog or cat's litter box. However, Flawless's customer satisfaction-driven, unprecedented growth pinched the Milwaukee metro flooring industry to the point major carpet companies are no more. We've added quality carpeting lines, becoming your true one-stop flooring shop. Flawless Flooring's New Berlin and Delafield showrooms feature virtually unheard of in the flooring industry, upfront accurate pricing, including installation on every display. Know how much carpet, LVP, or modern laminate flooring you need? You can calculate exact pricing as you shop. Want to expand your existing hardwood flooring? Flawless's employee-only craftsmen strip existing flooring, install new hardwood, then finish old and new together for a perfect, looks all original floor. Lock in purchasing power of today's dollars for money you'll earn up to 21 months from now with Flawless's no money down, zero interest financing. Sensory under load, Flawless Flooring. FlawlessFlooringLLC.com. That's FlawlessFlooringLLC.com.
After 23 years in business, our flat fee commission structure for selling a home is more innovative than ever. Paul Leby here with Lake Country Flat Fee. Real estate commissions have been under attack this past year, and it's a wonder why it's taken so long. We always knew commissions have been on the high side in this business, and we have strived to create a better model for selling a home. Our sellers save about 50% versus a traditional 6% broker. To learn more or to schedule a free market analysis, visit our website at lakecountryflatfee.com.
I'm Ryan Harrison, owner of Ryan Waterproofing. If it seems rain hangs around your home coming down as insidiously delicate droplets or in buckets, and if neither, rain tends to lurk suspiciously in the atmosphere around your house, you probably have a wet, mildewy, leaky basement with cracked walls. No basement wall or foundation repair is too big or small for Ryan Waterproofing. We won't be the most expensive. The larger the job, the more you'll save with Ryan. We've eliminated bowed walls, cracks, spalling, seepage, and flooding in Coast Guard stations, museums, and countless Wisconsin homes. Ryan's waterproofing experts show up on time and do exactly what we say we're going to do, eliminating your water problems, restoring your home, even ending your negative obsession with rain. Imagine looking out the window for rainbows rather than obsessing about your basement walls and floors next time, every time it rains. Free estimates, affordable financing. Because praying for drought is overrated. Ryan Waterproofing, call Ryan.com. That's call RION.com.
Josh from Infinity here. The roofing and exterior remodeling industry is notorious for painful, surprise hidden costs.
MJ here. We built Infinity with integrity, installing roof, siding, windows, and peace of mind.
Infinity's custom app eliminates costly, unpleasant roofing and exterior remodeling upcharges, showing in absolute transparency every detail of your project.
We pay less, you pay less.
Infinity provides multiple budget options, including financing immediately.
Warranted, guaranteed quality, installing peace of mind. InfinityRoofing.com.
Your clear choice for more. Lisbon Store, Street and Door.
Go get it. The new season of the NFL lives on iHeartRadio.
That's a jet touchdown!
Local stations bring you the action live.
Touchdown, Tampa Bay.
Plus, fantasy advice and expert analysis with the official NFL Podcast Network.
A strip sack, a lot recovery.
Everything you love about football is on the iHeartRadio app.
Throws to the end zone. Caught, needed, touchdown, Chargers.
Search NFL to dive in.
Welcome back to the Dan O'Donnell Show. Just about 1 minute left. Producer Dave and I were talking during the break. He actually asked me, does the afternoon show usually go this fast? I'm like, nope. Normally, it is just a boring slog. It's sort of like when Andy Kaufman would get ticked off at his listeners, at his fans in his live shows, and he would read The Great Gatsby in a British accent. That's usually what my broadcasts are like. Today, though, we knew Dave was back, so we want to make it fun. I do appreciate that, my friend. I know you had to pull double duty today. Producer Eric was he's off on assignment, I believe, for Discover Wisconsin, excuse me. I had a great organization, great show that Eric works for, but Dave was pinch hitting, and we do thank him for that. No, normally we do not have congressmen on live in studio announcing that they're running for governor, but we did today, and we do appreciate that. We will have the entire interview posted as a standalone video and podcast very shortly. We are out of time for this edition of the Dan O'Donnell Show. Talk to you tomorrow, 3:06 p.m.